and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. J. The saying goes, behind every good man is a great woman. Tonight's guest is an exception to that rule in that she stands beside her good man, and together they are great. Celina Nigel Cordoba L, Empress of 1,000 years, 10,000 years, is an accomplished mother, classically trained actress, alchemist, writer, master yogist, and business owner. She studied theater at Laguardia High School and received a Bachelor in Fine Arts from Syracuse University by age 20. An accomplished Master Yogi Instructor, Celina developed a form of yoga called MA, Melanin Active Yoga, that combines heat, meditation, and violet flame energy meditation. She has studied Astrology and Rota tarot and has led workshops empowering others to access their higher selves. Celina's pride and joy, however, is her lifestyle brand, Cordoba Organics, which is the only 100% Moorish American-owned organic beauty, skincare, and natural remedy line in the world, made from the ancient recipes of the Moors of old. Celina took the recipes handed down by birthright and sought after the purest organic ingredients and crystals, long believed to carry beneficial properties, and uses Moroccan argan oil as a base ingredient in all of her products. Her 55-plus product line contains no additives, shea butter, parabens, etc. If it's not found in nature, it's not in her products. Her product line includes body, hair, and face products that will, after daily use, refine the quality of your hair and skin. Its crystal-infused therapy and anti-aging properties are undeniable. Celina has always sought natural modalities of healing and energy renewal since the death of her beloved mother, Celia, when she was just a teen. Married to Asir, the Duke of Tears, since 2004, Celina gave birth to their son, Amor Cordoba L, in 2008. Always a creative, Celina decided to channel her love of hip-hop and produce 2 albums with Asir, the Duke of Tears, as Teen Cordoba. Celina uses her Moorish Panamanian roots and culture to inspire others to keep their heritage alive while promoting overall spiritual health and longevity. I want to welcome to Office Hours with Dr. J. Celina Cordoba L. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for such a warm welcoming. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be with you this evening. Like I said, it's almost, for me, it's the first time in many years that I've been blessed to just sit with an elder who's not really so much older, but just to be welcomed to the forum has been really humbling for me. I would have definitely stayed silent and in the background. So I appreciate it because it's not to say that there's a lack of or shyness or anything. It's just somewhat knowing your place and being okay with that and finding peace in that. So even though I do have a degree in theater, what I find blessed and best is having found abundance behind the camera and having been able to be okay with not necessarily always being seen to be heard. So thank you so much for having me on this evening. Hearing my bio like that definitely was a little humbling. And yes, wait a minute, I'm 43, still have so much to learn. And that's part of why I'm here. If anything that I've picked up along my 43 years to be of service or could help anybody, I'm definitely here. So I just wanted to take a second to thank our ancestors this evening. I don't drink, but I love this vodka. It's really dope, especially if you're making like perfumes or colognes or anything. Really nice. So I'm just going to give a quick ashe to thank you for having me on the show this evening. And to the roots. Thank you so much to our ancestors who come before us.
Thanks.
On this new moon, thank you so much for having me. And I was listening to my bio, and I just wanted to give thanks for having so many of the details correct. I did go to Syracuse, and I did graduate and get my actual piece of paper that I sometimes look at, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what those student loans went to. And that's one check off, but I was raised in Brooklyn, New York, and I moved to Brooklyn from Anaheim, California when I was about 4 years old, before my 5th birthday. And my mom moved myself and my sister, Michaela, to Brooklyn, New York with my grandparents. And we stayed in Brooklyn until I was 19, until she passed. So for me, growing up was going to, a lot of people might know these schools because, you know, I laughed at the irony of so many of great talents having come from them. I went to PS 45 a couple years before Nicki Minaj. And then I went to IS 383, which is known as Philippa Schuyler Middle School for the Gifted and Talented. And anybody that grew up in Brooklyn knows that either you're poly prep, you know, you went to certain junior high schools in hopes to stay out of Halsey, in hopes to stay out of certain really heavy gang affiliated schools. And I lived right around the corner from Halsey. My mom was like, "You're not going to Halsey. You're not going to need to be so." So, you know, I had to take this test to get into Philippa Schuyler, which was a specialized junior high school from 5th to 8th grade. And it was harder than high school and college. What I learned in junior high school was so, you know, amazing. But shout outs to everybody that went to Schuyler. A lot of great people graduated from Schuyler as well, a lot of great talents. And then I auditioned for LaGuardia, and I got in for theater and for dance. I chose theater because I was always dancing. And I was like, oh, it's nice to switch it up. So I chose theater. And then that summer, funny enough, is the summer that I dislocated my first knee. And thank God, you know, in going to high school, I wasn't left back a year because I actually chose something that I could still do in the high school that I was accepted in. If I got in, you know, I got in for dance, but if I had chosen dance, I literally was out of commission that summer and it would have put me out. So that's just, you know, the creator's way of saying, I'm going to take care of you, even though you might see this as a non-blessing right now. So for me, high school was great. And in high school, I was able to go to, well, not go, but audition for different things. And I was able to be in Porgy and Bess, which was my first off-Broadway show. And I say that to say that I experienced some times growing up in New York, even though I grew up at what now would be considered a very unsafe place to be raised. Bushwick was right on the border of Brownsville and East New York. You know, my train stop was one of the most violent train stops, but you know, I was really blessed and protected to have a great mom and a great family. And I think that when you do come from such great blessings and great upbringings like that, it doesn't really, we're not really paying attention to the environmental factors that might have been a little detrimental to all of our emotional growth and stability. You know, there's a huge thing in our communities right now, and I'm going to jump a little, but that's how melody it is. I want to get to what I was thinking. There's a huge stigma, like almost like if you're, you know, childhood trauma or things that happen to us that might have been out of our control. They somewhat shape broken versions of ourselves. And that's something that I really wanted to just tap into tonight. If I have an opportunity to slow down and just say to people that might be going through stuff that's out of their control, that might be a little bit family oriented, let's say stresses in your environment or in our financial status that are really hindering our, you know, our happiness and our growth, to know that those things will create hopefully strong and stamina-like spirits where we're able to understand that the things that are happening to us are not necessarily the things that constitute our entire personality. So, you know, there is no broken aspects of self, regardless of the things that might have been outside of our control or in our control. You know, I really want to slow down. You know, right, especially now, there's so much going on with, you know, trauma that's outside of our physical bodies, just whether it be rape or molestation or, you know, kidnapping and just things that are horrid. You know, being such a compassionate people as a whole, we sometimes forget that there is real evil out there, and not everyone has the best interest for not only ourselves, but especially for highly melanated women and children and people of color. Why we are so generationally attacked and systematically approached as this broken version, and why we're always thinking of ourselves coming out of trauma rather than thinking of things as, hey, maybe these things happen to us to not only create certain strengths and awarenesses, but not, let's start to rewrite this language in which we associate ourselves with. So not to think about them as trauma, but sometimes shit happens, man. Bad things happen to us. And bad things can happen to good people all the time. It doesn't mean that you're oldest or something, it's just, hard within your astrological time, or, that's a false, that's not real. And a lot of energy workers, and that's another term I want to make people aware of, they work energy. You don't want to be around any energy worker. You want to be around divine energy and people that are going to translate or maybe help you through times of difficulty, whether you start doubting yourself or having moments of unclarity. But regardless of those moments, you are still the most powerful within your vessel, and no one outside of yourself, whether it comes to a reading or to anything, is going to ever truly be able to give you that boost of confidence until you say, hey, I can take it for myself. And these are the tools outside of myself that are here to help guide me, but by no means are they the end all and be all. And if I don't have those things, I'm not lacking and I'm not without. So to go back to the story of me, of this, without sounding narcissistic or a thing, because that's another thing that I just wanted to, be aware of is, living in the times we're living in right now. Everybody has a story and everybody has a unique journey, which is why it's very important not only to not judge, but just to be in a space of openness to listening and to be, a portal so that we can help each other grow in times where we doubt or lack the confidence to do so. So that's, most things that are traumatic in terms of a violation outside of oneself is there to throw off one's belief in oneself or one's idea of what one can accomplish. But that's, again, that program or that thing or that thing that might have happened to you does not define who you are. So you can definitely exist outside of abuse, outside of molestation, outside of rape. It is horrific. I have never, thanks to God, inshallah, I have never experienced certain types of mishappenings or things that aren't necessarily in our control. I'm trying to think of the word that I just had. Unfortunate events. But it's not to say that you are a negative person or something, you're doing something to attract this energy. And that can be misunderstood when there's great text out like this, The Secret, or things that people have read out, whatever book you might have read that makes you feel as though, wow, this environmental factor or where I'm at or how I am, bah humbug, something's wrong with me. I must not be in this space of blessings because, I hear rats above my head every night and I can't have flowers in my apartment and I can't, we all are going to go through it at specific times. And if there's anything that I can slow down and hopefully try to rewire and rewrite into our conversations and into how we speak about each other is this idea of being traumatized or having things happen that we have to seek guidance and help outside of oneself in order to get on track. You don't. No one has read a book that's not innately, that you can't innately find, or the wisdom doesn't necessarily exist in a hands-on type of way. You're going to have to maybe step out of certain comfort zones or certain things that were placed in your path to cause that confusion or to cause that distraction. But that's really where the work comes in, is figuring out what you need to weed out of your own garden to have the best flowers grow. And just because they're not growing right now doesn't mean that underneath that soil isn't 1,000 lotuses and isn't 1,000 black lilies just waiting for you. So, my first unfortunate experience, if I can think back, other than like getting my knee going down a hill or, being hurt that whatever, I didn't get to get something as a child, was actually playing volleyball and having my knee pop out its socket and go into my thigh. And, rather than tell the story, because I'll jump a little and say, I wasn't raised with my dad. He was a gunny sergeant in the military. And that's how I started off in California. My mom used to move a lot based on being in the military. There was base housing, etc. So my sister was born in California. I was born on a naval base in North Carolina that happens to be one of the most irradiated naval bases in the world, and it's Camp Lejeune. And it wasn't until I was like 17, 18 that I found out all this stuff. And it's like, maybe that's why my knees were weak to begin with. Or, again, not thinking of the place that I was born as a curse, or my placement in my moon being something negative with my parent. Sometimes you hear things and you're like, that's the exact opposite. The things that we sometimes read aren't or can't be applied across the board because everyone is born at a different time. Everyone has a different journey and experience. So even though you might have a double Scorpio or this or that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be sexually driven or, a sexual deviant or all the things that might just kind of quickly be associated with that placement. So even though my moon is in Capricorn, I really enjoy being around people a lot, even though I've made choices to value my energy and my sense of what I feel my worth is now. I do enjoy being around people a lot, and I didn't have a negative relationship with my mom, and she wasn't a sad or negative person. Things happened to her when she grew up that put her in a state of, having a little bit of a weak hip. And when she went to go and get it fixed, I'll just put it to you like this. She dislocated her hip, kind of like I did my knee, but she was in Panama, never really got it fixed, and her hip always kind of bothered her. So when she was pregnant with me, it was exaggerated because she lived on this base that had really irradiated water. So to speed up that story, her hip was really in a lot of pain after I was born. When I was like 15, she said, I'm gonna get it taken care of. When I was 19, she did, and she was over anesthetized by the Hospital of Special Surgery, and she fell into a brain coma, and she was pronounced dead before they even cut her open and performed the surgery. So I was in Syracuse at the time, got a phone call, my mom stopped breathing, and my life kind of switched up from then because I really was taken care of and really was nurtured and loved dearly. So then when that is broken, what happens to the psyche, what happens to the family, what happens monetarily was something that I was just not prepared for, being as nurtured in my little Brooklyn bubble. So longer story short, the first experience of just having that knee affliction, it was a lot because I was in California at the time and I had to fly back to New York. I was visiting my dad, the first time I had seen him in like 10 years since I was like, 4. So this is the first time I'm 14. And it happened on his watch. He was totally upset with it. So he was like, whatever, deal with it. And that night, I called my mom and I was like, hey, I hurt my knee. She's like, well, how bad? I was like, I kind of can't walk. So she was like, look, get on a plane, come home. I went home that day. The doctor that saw my leg that afternoon was like, you might have had to, if you were on the plane for a couple more hours, your circulation, you could have gotten a blood clot, you could have lost your leg. Because my leg was about this thick. It was so thick with blood that I cannot even tell you my mother's face in getting off the plane. So I had surgery that week. They did reconstructive knee surgery, which was basically using my thigh muscle as stability because I didn't want to put anything artificial in there. And I was hemmed up for about 6 months. And, going to high school with, in a wheelchair, and you just want to be the normal girl, definitely put me at a spot of just being really humble from the beginning. And kind of always eating that humble pie because now you need help getting on the elevator. And I had this special bus come and pick me up because I couldn't take the train. So there was a lot of humility and me just being aware of care of your body. And that was my first imprint. And then it's a horrible, funny story, but my knee healed up. About a year later, I'm in my living room doing like back bends and back flips because I feel great. And I dislocate my other knee. Now, I didn't do it in dance class. Like it didn't happen. It was aggravated. The way the doctor explains it is that I had congenital knee issues that were aggravated. So, rather than get that deep, that was my first traumatic or, unfortunate event that not only led me to understanding that I can't dance the way that I used to, which I actually did go back. I had this scholarship at Dance Theater of Harlem, and I was so broken that I couldn't keep it. And then, all the things that I invested my energy in, I just kind of had to, at a young age, say there's other things that you can do. There's other things that you can experience. So thank God for Laguardia and for just going there for theater. And then I went to Syracuse. And the reason why I'm going to jump is because this isn't really even. Syracuse is great, but that was my first experience being the only woman of color in a room of all white people. LaGuardia is like the famous schools like I experienced bisexual, lesbians, homosexuality. It wasn't shocking to see anything in New York. We took the train every day. Everybody rode from Brooklyn to Manhattan. It was always normal. So there was a big influx of culture. Going to Syracuse, there was definitely some segregation of the fraternal orders, the sororities, the hippie Black kids, the, other type of, Atlanta type energy Black people or urban Black people. And, coming from New York, being the only woman in the theater department of color, I definitely was not uncomfortable, but I started paying attention to a lot of different details that would only take place being around certain people that came from these wealthy families, a lot of different wealthy kids. So I didn't, that wasn't my experience. My hustle in college, I always had 3 jobs, especially after my mom passed. That was my second year of college. I was nervous, but I knew my mom did so much to sacrifice for me to go to school that I said, let me go back. So I went back, and now I'm thinking, thank God, because the night of her funeral, there was a huge argument in my family, and myself and my sister of the 19 years of living there were kicked out of our home. So my grandfather did that, and it was like hush, hush, hush. You want to be quiet about the family members that do things that are really nefarious and, is set in money and control. And at the time, it was just like, you're not going to live here, the way that you think. And, I'd always gotten A's in school, so I never found myself to be a problem child. But taking away future money that residents that could be occupying the space give him more was something that he didn't think. So I say this, and it doesn't make my family look good, but these are also, now that I've gotten older, I've learned to not take things as personal, and realizing that sometimes people have certain oaths that they have to maintain. And there was a huge split in my family between the men who were architects and Freemasons and the women who were healers. And, it was kept kind of quiet, but my grandfather was a huge Mason. And, being from Panama and then coming to New York, they had kind of a higher ranking. He was the top electrical engineer at Con Ed, and all my uncles were. And all the women in my family were nurses and, really highly educated. My mom worked for the Wall Street Journal. She was a journalist. So, education was valued highly. You could listen to hip hop and do all your whatever, but if you're not bringing these 95s home, it's a problem. So I always had that balance of figuring out how to do really well in school, even though I wasn't really mentally always there. And all of that's to say, I figured out a hustle on how to make money. And thank God I did. I did a lot of white people's term papers for $500 a pop, for a lot. And at that time, what all of that is to say is that years later, I graduated from college and was confronted with sometimes having to be around people that I definitely did years of terms of paperwork for and papers for. And a lot of these kids that I went to school with got top ranking jobs. Their parents got them great positions. And it just taught me that you can work hard. You can be really, really wise, but where and how and who you are born into and what you come from is going to always take caveat. And that taught me a lot of humility because, people that I didn't necessarily respect intellectually, I saw really making really great money and doing, having amazing jobs. And then the people that actually got them to even graduate. People like myself, or I'm sure 10 to 20 other people, we have to sometimes remember that we still have to wait tables. And, I wasn't born with that silver spoon. So even though I had opportunities, it always felt a little outside of culture and self to just take this job on TV for money. And I was offered my first television job with, doesn't even matter because it was so much money, the energy of people that I felt I was around, especially after graduating from college, that I was majority around white folk. I just was tired of everyone that knows what we do when we do what we have to do. We don't conform, but I didn't get his path.
We're getting a little bit of we're getting some feedback with your with the picture on your side.
I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up. But while you're doing that, I want to interject it because you look, we got you going full speed ahead. But I'm interested in, with all of your background and all of the education and everything that you were doing with your upbringing, where did you intersect with learning about your Moorish culture? I'm sure did you?
Absolutely. Thank you for keeping me on track as well.
Yeah.
I just sometimes don't know where to start, so I just jump in.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll let you go, but I'm gonna jump in there.
I was raised culturally, if I were to be very honest, my grandmother did go to church. She did practice certain aspects of Christianity here. But my family was always very aware that we were from Spain originally. My last name is Cordoba. My grandmother's last name was Brathwaite. And they kind of migrated and did the Barbados thing. My grandfather's side always was in Spain and in Cordoba. And then my father as well was born in Panama. So when we growing up, my entire family spoke Spanish. It was my mother's first language. So coming to this country or being first born here, when you have parents that speak another language, you're always reminded that you're not American like the other Black folk. So we always knew we were Moors, but it was something that was always kind of kept, inside the house. So yeah, we'll go to church on Sunday, but Fridays is also a very big day in our home. We don't try to do certain things spiritually, work-wise. Certain things were kept, but to be honest, that was kind of traditionally kept through the women in my family. The men in my family more so, kind of assimilated into their the church life and their fraternal orders. They were pretty much big Masons. So for me, growing up as a Moor, I always knew that, hey, we are to be respectful and to be aware that there are other religions in the world, and how they came into existence was really based on land ownership and understanding that we as a people of color have always been in the compendium story, have always existed since time immemorial. And we didn't necessarily approach life from the aspect of thinking that we couldn't accomplish more or be more, or we didn't always exist in every culture anciently. So that kind of was, I hate to say it, but that wasn't something I took advantage of, but I didn't know that a lot of people were unaware of other religions in the world until I became maybe like 12 or 13, and that things were very rigid in Black American families.
So did you say religion. So did your family view the Moorish, what we call our ethnicity? Did your family saw more the Moorish heritage as being more of a religious, like religious as opposed to nationality? And you're still breaking it. I'm not sure what's happening with your video, but
take the plug out, plug it back in, see if I move around. Does it help? Can you hear me better?
I can hear you. It's just that you're very pixelated and
now. Okay.
Very unclear.
I'm on my laptop, and so I don't know.
I don't know whether it's your internet connection or what.
I don't even think if I check that. It probably is. Can I switch that and see if it helps, or will it shut out?
Yeah. If I lose you, you just click back in and keep, you do what you need to do. Now you're a little bit clearer now. I mean, you're frozen. We'll see. But if you want to check on the internet, you can do it, and you can always just log back in, and I'll bring you back in. I just don't want to go through the rest of the whole show with you looking like you're.
Am I back in?
Yeah, you're very pixelated. Yeah.
Still?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's, like I said, it could be internet.
I'm on 5G right now. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know. I can switch the light around.
Yes, let's try that. Just so that, because people will be they can't see.
Is that better?
No, it actually isn't. And I'm not sure, like I said, I'm never sure whether or not when we do these shows, whether or not, somebody on the other end starts to mess with things just because of the information that ends up coming out of these broadcasts. But we'll do the best we can. But your whole, you started out pretty clear, and now it's like a wave of pixelation. But let's not. I'm not going to let you. You're not going to have to spend the whole time talking about what might be.
I can switch it off again. I can leave the studio and come back in.
Okay, we can do that. You can do that. I want to thank you so much for your patience as we work to try to get the picture, Sister Celina's video aspect clear. So let me see here. She's coming back in. Okay.
Is that better?
That's better. That's better. Okay, let's see what we can do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Sorry about all of that.
That's okay. It's just that, I didn't want to go too far with that without you knowing.
No, thank you. I don't. And this is another thing. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep on.
Don't be sorry. You're not sorry. We're not sorry.
I talked about that with the seer, that's a program of especially women that are a little bit of a darker skin. And it is something that I was really trained to think, like, if I couldn't hear someone, it was, I'm sorry, so that you can ask them to speak louder. But that is not necessarily being sorry. You can say, I can't hear you. So right. From a young age, I was really conditioned to say sorry, just to not come off confrontational or combative. And I think that we just conform to things like that to not come off like we're being combative. But really, if I can't hear you, I should have relearned what to say and saying I'm sorry, because I do say that quite often. So that is something I'm working on every day, as well as just watching stuff like epitaphs, like cusses. I have Celina, and then there is no in between. Some people say, oh, there's this version of me. I'm always me. But growing up in Brooklyn and being 100 pounds and being 5 foot, you also learn how to cuss to keep certain energy off of you. So I talked about that the other day. Someone was like, you never, I said, no, I've been approached, but the first rub up I had to train, my mother grabbed me and they tell me, this is what you want. You make a scene, so it was embarrassing. And we're back again with the pixelation, and you're breaking up. I'm wondering what that is. Someone in the comments said something about the Ethernet cord. I don't know whether you have an Ethernet cord or you just pick it up from Wi-Fi. Because I know I have my computer plugged in, directly in. But you start, and so unfortunately, I'm not sure where Brother Alcir was last week because. Wherever he was. I can get off my and try on the computer system, but I just thought that this would be easier than sitting on a computer. I have a computer right next to me as well. I could try that, but am I better?
No. You're not. And I'm just trying to and I know we have a lot to talk about.
I'm coming back in 2 minutes. I don't want to waste time.
That's all right. I'll talk to him. I'll just read comments and see what everybody's talking about. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your patience. We're trying to get Sister Celina's video and audio corrected. It's unfortunate. So I thank you for your patience. Thank you for tuning in. As you know, probably some of you know, next week, I'm going to have both Sister Celina and Brother Auxerre, rather, the Duke of Tears will be on together for our final August Super Tuesday broadcast. And I'm very much looking forward to that. And I know you are too. But we want to talk to our sister and want to talk about some of her terrific products, which are while she's, we'll probably get back to this, but while she's trying to get her the right computer, I have some products. As you can see, this is a bubble bath body wash shampoo, but I just use it for body wash. As you can see, I'm about at one more wash, maybe two, on my sponge, and I need to get a re-up on this. But this shampoo, I'm just going to do commercials. This is the apple cider vinegar aloe argan herb shampoo and conditioner, which I use. It absolutely, it will wash very clean and condition and thicken your hair. I absolutely, and then anybody who's having problems with growing their hair, who's losing their hair, this is Sister Celina's Rosemary's Baby Herbal Hair Growth Serum. And it has, actually, I don't know if you can see it, but it actually has rosemary, the leaves. It has fresh rosemary inside of it. This will make your hair grow on head that's bald. It absolutely does work. And this is for men and for women. And the product, like I said, is fantastic. My hair is growing in leaps and bounds and thickening up where my loctician said it wouldn't. And then I started using these two products, and it is growing. You know, within a few days, I can always see new hair growth because I use her products. And then last but not least, oh, here she is. Let me bring her back.
Girl,
I'm up here doing a commercial for your fries.
And I've been here, like, I don't know if she can see me.
I didn't see y'all running my mouth, but anyway, lemonade. Tell us about this lemonade stuff. I'll get rid of it.
I will. Can you hear me?
Yes, and you're starting to. Every time you start to talk, you start to break up again. I think it's your internet, but we'll do the best we can. When it gets real bad, I'll let you know, and then you just unplug and come back in. Okay.
No.
Nope, you're in the dark.
Better? Dark.
No, you're just not as well. I don't expect you to look like I do on mine because I'm using a Logitech camera. Okay, she's gonna come back, y'all. But anyway, I wanted her to tell you about this lemonade, which is one of her products. And these are products that I started using before I even had a conversation with our sister, because it was recommended that I use her hair products, and by Sister Mia Bay, who I had on. I think they were my second guests, Mia and Antonio Bay, who have 720 blends, and she told me how this made her hair grow and referred me to the website, and these are the products that I purchased. And I'm telling you, my knee was going crazy yesterday, and this lemonade is what I put on. Bring her back on.
Okay.
We're gonna try. I just think it's your internet, because every place you go, but let's do the best we can. How about that? Just don't compare her video with mine, because I have a Logitech camera, and the cameras on the PCs are terrible. PC cameras are terrible.
This is supposed to be like a Mac, a good camera Mac.
I know, but one thing I found is that the cameras on these computers are really bad, and you have to use an additional camera, and that is what makes it better. So unfortunately, but tell us about this lemonade. I know you're still a little blurry, But this is one. Yeah.
Lemonade is really good for scars, for people with scars. So we were talking about your knee scars earlier, and
Right.
you know, when you have them on joints, they're called. Let me know if you can hear me. They're
I can
called.
hear you.
They're called hypertrophic scars. So it's not necessarily just a keloid, but it's also hypertrophic because it's on a joint. So when you have to move that joint and exercise it to strengthen it, it spreads. So your scar will spread and it'll be a little raised. That's literally just from gaining mobility again. But we don't want that on our skin. It's a little difficult to feel and to just get the texture back. So lemonade is really good for scar rejuvenation. So is like the acai cinnamon, because there's certain ingredients in it that are just going to work to heal over time. The vitamin E, the jojoba, the horsetail butter, the cherry seed oil, the peach seed oil, pomegranate oil. I use about 13 oils for each product. So I like literally 13 different oils to make the hair stuff, to make the face stuff, because even though the face, you would think no oil is going to work to heal, you only need it. There used to be a company back in the day that inspired me. They were called Dr. Hushka, and they had oil products. And I used to be like, how is oil going to work for my skin? I might have been like 16 at the time, but I would get the little samples because I could afford them. I couldn't afford the big stuff. But using oil on my skin when I was younger, I realized that oil really works. But I never made my own until literally feeling kind of lost and feeling like I'm spending $30 to $60 for an ounce of, like, let's say, scar healing something. And I go through it in 2 or 3 days. I don't have enough to use on my skin everywhere. I have a spider bite here, little things that happen to us. I learned certain parts of our skin are keloid, are susceptible, but certain parts of our skin are not. It's literally based on what we're not putting on it or where it's located. So like this scar, for instance, is not raised, even though it was a deep scar and we thought it was keloid. I got a recluse spider bite there. And then my knee scars are literally hypertrophic. Went across my whole knee, where when I was like 16, a cosmetic surgery, we could put burn scars, the silicone. There's literally silicone strips that you get cut almost as though you burned your skin, and put those strips on your skin, and then an ace bandage. I did that when 16 the whole summer, and it really didn't reduce the inflammation and how dark they were. So as I got older, I just started really investing in what might work to heal scar tissue long term, and what was going to work on my face. Because Castile soap and harsh soaps were not doing the trick. Castile soap would break my skin out or cause little polyps. You want things to be soft. You have to spend a little bit of money, but a lot of these companies only use a droplet or two of argan or grapeseed oil, and then the rest is soy or safflower. And to be honest, I just was finding no help in anything that I invested in. Nothing worked for longer than like a week or 2 weeks. And I just kept spending and investing in different products to hopefully keep my skin hydrated, when I had to do a little research and realizing anything alcohol-based is going to strip our skin and our hair. So even though it might hold your hair's style, it's going to strip it of being able to accept energy. It's the same thing like a plant or a flower. You can't have things on it that are going to stop it from communicating with the ethos, with the world. So, no disrespect, but that's one thing in the Rasta culture that I experienced early. I'm not Rastafari, I'm not Jamaican. So I would always, in New York, a lot of Rastas, oh, you're not wrapping your head, and you're not. I'd be like, I want my hair to not recede as I get older. So there's times to wrap your hair ceremonially, and there's times to not necessarily feel this because you don't. So that's another thing. Culturally, you asked me earlier, I was always raised to not feel as though anything When you're more, you don't necessarily hide anything. You don't hide your beauty. You don't hide your skin. You don't wish to be anything that you're not. You don't wish to look any different than what you were born into. So even though my sister's very light skinned, is ebony and ivory, one thing I can say I never, thank God, experienced was wanting to feel or be lighter skinned. All of our colors and shades in our family were highly celebrated. And we were also given a lot of like old school wisdom that's left out of stuff was really kept in my family that I was unaware of until I was a little older. So, for instance, black gums. If you have black gums, you are in good. And I'm not saying the people that are born with pink gums are not, but oftentimes certain things, certain archetypes are dissed because there's certain magical properties in having them. So when we're darker skinned, we always across the world will be put at the bottom of the hierarchy triangle because anything melanated and darker skin is not only taught to us to fear, but it's something that energetically we are not to want to accept because it is lower, it has less class, it has less money, resources, and finances. We all know that's not the case, but I'm not talking about as individuals or as a community anymore. I'm talking about just what people of melanin, of high melanin content experience globally. And globally, it's not popular to have babies my color anymore. Those that are, we know what the magic and the dopeness is, but across the globe, there is a hub of, lightening your skin will equate to more opportunity and will equate to greater respect and more opportunity for happiness, for joy, for marriage, for all these other things, which is really unfortunate, but to grow in a world where that really is being pumped to women that look like myself, I want to just take a step to slow down and say, dark gums, we can travel without moving. All of that Akashic wisdom that a lot of Caucasians and a lot of people that are actually trying to find a seat at this energetic cosmology table that has existed, but really the darker you are, the longer you have been in existence here. It's just what is. It's not to say one is better or worse. There is plenty of people that are of a lighter hue that have a higher melanin or melasome content within. It's called EU melanin. And they are just as contributory to this scope. But because they are treated a little differently by the rest of the world, it's not to say that I'm negating them. What I'm trying to include and incorporate is saying that women of high melanin that are sometimes taught to not love themselves, that happens for a reason. We're taught to not love ourselves for a reason because stop rubbing against my money tree like that. My son keeps rubbing behind my money tree, he gonna break it. I am so like every time this child hits my trees. Anyway, so it's to say that to be aware of your energy, to be aware of what you feel lacking in or what you don't. Sometimes people that feel as though they have to have something to say will create great crowds because they are working really hard on being heard. And, right now, I just want to remind people that people with great followings, there's 98% of those people, don't necessarily might have that reality outside of that experience in that social media realm. So they might be dealing with different things that we might not be aware of, but because we're so applauding or celebrate those with large numbers, sometimes those pages and those people are supported and are sponsored to cause confusion and to be the voice of us melanated people of color.
Absolutely.
So that we are in constant doubt and constant search of something more. And the more needs to really be channeled back to ourselves to say that there is nothing outside of ourselves as as a people or as an individual that we can't attain the highest heights of joy and experience the most love and experience the most understanding and compassion. You can come right here, just chill and walk, boy. he didn't do it this time. Thank you. The highest amounts of compassion by just being, we don't have to work on certain things. We don't have to work on being aware of how other people feel, because that's what we do naturally. We just are always aware of how our energy is affecting others. We're always aware of what someone else is feeling, because that's just who we are as a people. That empathy, and it's not empathy, it's actual compassion and sympathy for someone else's experience. Empathy doesn't really, that word became popular when Caucasians wanted to feel as though they could be part of our experience and a part of our healing. And so they have feelings, and that empathy came from saying, hey, I understand what you're going through. That's great, but we don't have to talk to each other like that, because we oftentimes are very understanding about what one another experiences, even if we didn't experience it for ourselves. There's still a part of us that can go, wow, I might not be homeless, but I'm going to have a soft spot for the lady that I see on the train every day that is. We're not a cold-hearted people. It's not until we started trying to act like others outside of our nationality, outside of our understanding of who we were, that things started getting really askew. And if we really, I'm not a historian, but I'm more a study of, I would say, just taking a back step and looking at how society is being engendered. And right now, we are giving all of our power away to things that need our energy to feel as though it can exist in the hereafter. There is no Akashic memory for those that are so lighter hue that their experience of being Black is just using certain terminology or having certain experiences to feel as though, hey, because I have this thick hair, or I might be, it's almost like picking aspects of our culture and celebrating it in ways, but there's still a very big separation, because you might not feel as though you're Black like me. You might be Black like that. And that's the thing that creates such a separation, when really all people of color go through similar plights and similar experiences in the world. It's to create these forums where we can not only talk about what light-skinned people might share, but also what is of difference. We always want to be so the same that we're not necessarily focusing on our own personal journeys. So even though someone, talked about the twin flame energy, even though you might have a connection with someone, you're never twinning the flame, because that energy can never be had. You are your own individual flame, and there is nothing wrong with joining energy and respecting someone else's path, but to still maintain your own autonomy is so important, so that you can still be your own channel, not only to heal, but for your own growth and development. God forbid anything else were to happen, you're still left with this arm, leg, arm, and head that you have to govern. So, it's just to remind each other that through discipline, through certain acts of discipline, we can reprogram things that might have been taught to us to create doubt in ourselves, or to create energy that's not conducive to like the best in our family. So, there's a lot of shit that I can't control in how people react in my family. So instead of trying to control that, I just decided to separate myself and deal with all the energy that came separated. Because if you can kick me out of my house on the night of my mother's funeral, there's not much future I can see for us. I can love you from afar, but I'm not going to consistently put myself in situations where I'm going to feel as though I have to work for someone's love or approval, because that's a program. To work for somebody's love or approval is not real. We do it, we're programmed to do it. But again, it's figuring out how to rewrite these programs or these things that exist outside of us. We're so quick to incorporate everybody in our healing process, whether it be this white woman's book. And I'm not saying that Caucasian women don't have things to contribute to Caucasian women's experiences, but as a woman of color, it's almost like going to a chicken to teach me how to be a peacock. It can never happen. I have peacock feathers. I existed where only peacocks existed for a while. And even though I was raised around everything, I'm still this woman outside. So, we're often so quick to just, be so loving and allow people that don't grow up in our cultures and in our communities to have a say in how traumatized and in what's wrong with us. And that's something that is so amazing to me, that somebody that has never existed or has never experienced certain things, and I'm not talking about, oh, we can't heal each other, like if I have to be, I have to have gone through a molestation to understand what it is to be violated, or to, no, that's not what I'm expressing. What I'm expressing is being aware of someone's experience enough to not want to dominate your own energy or put your own experience on it to make it whatever, for whatever. Let us be as hurt and talk about our own pain. Let us figure out how to heal each other. Let us figure out how to be each other's inspiration, rather than going to women that have totally different archetypes, totally different given circumstances, totally different experiences, to say, hey, what's wrong with me? How come I can't have, when we're 98% of the time, all of the things that create these given circumstances are financial and are societal, which is why certain people don't want to create women that or men that look like this, because this melanin has been taught to be feared. It is the actual thing that allows us to be so beautiful and that allows us to exist planetarily on so many different planes without moving. All of that 3D, 4D, 5D dimensional reality, that's us. That is innate. That is something that exists innately within us. So when you have a vehicle that can drive anywhere, understand the power of getting an outsider to not only take control of it, but to almost get you to doubt what your vehicle is capable of, because you might have gone through a couple of things that certain cultures and communities will never be able to understand. So they have to be empathetic so that they can feel as though they're a part of this journey with us, when really it's okay to say there's an us and a them. The problem is trying to be like everyone else, when no matter how much I can love and have a best friend in college that's Caucasian, I still know when I walk outside and who I am at the end of the day is not this Caucasian woman. The opportunities that are going to be afforded to her are going to be different for me, as much as I want them to not. As much as I want to exist in this bubble of saying, no, it's not like that. I've been like, oh no, racism, just to play that game, and it's still right there. So as much as we try to sometimes exist above it or outside of it, that's the unfortunate part, that we still have to exist in this reality where it is real. And people that do have black gums, that are highly melanated with 6 different hair textures, are not only taught to not only love ourselves, but when we look at what society is responding to, we also see certain men that might look like us be more entertained and more open to women that are light skinned or are of a different archetype. Because again, they've been taught through whatever societal program or through whatever ranking that equates to a happier reality, that equates to more consistency. It equates to more love. It equates to more joy. And that's in a space where I wish Caucasian people would teach their own that is not the case at all. That hubris, that excessive feeling as though, well, this is something that I have to offer for you people. That's just a place that I always say it's okay. This is their way of trying to be a part of a story that does not exist for them. And it's all right. We are such a generous people that will support and will give credence to people that have never lived a day as a Black person, but because we see them as something outside, or like Kamala Harris, for example. So many people, oh, this Black woman, Kamala Harris has never lived her life as a Black woman. She might have listened to hip hop. She might have smoked a joint that made her feel like, oh, I'm official. But we can see through things. And this is why our intuition, our sense of self sometimes gets tested, because we are so intuitive naturally that we don't have to read a book or figure out how to be intuitive. It's just something that we are. What we have to learn how to do is not pick up different frequencies and believe in things that are outside of our nationality and that are outside of ourselves as things that might empower us. For instance, in growing up in Brooklyn, there was a lot of circles of women that were like healers, but what I noticed is that they only really coupled themselves or liked things of a lighter skin hue. So my mother would train me from a young age to say, you know, watch out for those Black people that say they love Black, but all their children are very, very light skinned and this isn't a judgment because sometimes things just happen. But when things just happen consistently, it's not a happenstance anymore. Now you're creating a pattern of behavior. And I would watch, women of my color, have a lot of different females around them, but only give attention to those lighter skinned people, and that made me very aware of, self-hate and self-love. Some women of color won't have other women of color around them because they were taught not to love themselves so wholly that they can exist with other women that look like. I mean, there's different levels of self-hate that exists. And sometimes that self-hate can exist from women that look like what you're trained to think are your people, are the people that are going to love you. And that's exact opposite because we don't know what their personal experience was or what happened to them to get them to really hate themselves or to get them.
We if I may interject, and we are grown. We're raised with many. I'm a child of the 50s. We're raised with many stereotypical views of what beauty is, and many of us, I remember every doll that I had growing up. I remember How to Get Better and Chatty Cathy and this, that, and the other. Everything I had practically was, of a Caucasian hue, if you will, for as far as dolls and so forth. But where I am now, here I am at 65, and I think I was 56, maybe 56, when I found out or realized that I was not Black. And I know you use Black a lot, but I realized that I'm not Black, that I am not Negro, I'm not colored, and all these things. I've lived 56 years throwing up the fist, being Black and proud, not being, I didn't want to be colored. I know, because that was more like the 40s and 30s. So I wasn't going to be colored, and I realized at that point, about 9 years or so ago, that our folks, our people had gone through many variations of who we are. You can just look generationally at birth certificates. And I know you posted, for instance, your birth certificate, the birth certificate that was attached to you on your Instagram. But if you look at mama, grandmama, and yourself, in my case, you'll find colored, you'll find Negro, you'll find African American. Now, I'm a great grandmother, and I'm not sure what's on my grand and great grandchildren's the birth certificate. I don't even want to call it theirs, because we know what the birth certificate is now. It's a bond. So that bond is. But what I'm wanting to do, like every day, almost, I listen to alternative media, and some people get mad at me, like, why are you listening to that? Because I need a balance. I mean, I know what MSM, mainstream media, is going to say about the situation that we're in and who we ought to be, voting for and who we ought to be trusting. So I need a balance, and I know exactly what this stuff is about. But there's everything in me wants to pick up the phone and call into a Sean Hannity or a Rush Limbaugh and give them an education in what it means to be a Moor, what that we are not. Yeah.
Almost always because something to realize as well is that it's something that globally has been attacked so much for so many centuries. But why has it been attacked? Being a Moor immediately locks you into a trust fund. It locks you into monetary stuff. It allows you to access stuff beyond reparations, and it opens gateways that a lot of people that will adhere themselves to a pejorative term of color are not going to be able to access, because those gates were created to block and to lock you from accessing it. So when you do adhere to terms or nomenclatures of art, things that aren't real, like Black, like Puerto Rican, like Dominican. You know, I would love to sit here and try to not offend, because for so many years I would talk the way that I know people could understand me. But no, personally, I am not a Black person. But what does that mean? And how can I say that without pissing off my color and pissing off people of color and saying, no, no, no. You know, Black was created for a reason, in terms to keep us out of this this pot of gold that has always been ours, that will always be ours. So,
and my reason for bringing this up with you, Empress, is that I want you and I want the viewers to know that you know, because you know, as you know, and because we can speak as we speak just in our natural. Sometimes it becomes natural. You know, yeah, I know, but I'll just say this, that, and the other. This is the third, and they're like, maybe she doesn't know that we're not Black, and maybe she doesn't know that we're not women of color. But those are things. Rest assured. But let me say this to you. Rest assured, those that are on this broadcast listening, they know they're Moors. They know they're not Black, and they know they're not Negro. So they get a little edgy, because they're like, wait a minute, she's using a lot of that, you know, colorful terminology. But you can't be married to a seer to tears.
What I do as well is I don't have any of the chats or the people's comments coming up.
Yeah, so, actually, you actually can look at them in the comments, but
I actually don't do that, not to be disrespectful, but
so it doesn't distract you. Yeah.
It might throw me off a little, but no, I'm not a Black woman, of course not. But let me tell you something. What a seer does and what a seer teaches is what a seer teaches and what he does. I know who I am, and I don't necessarily, when I step into certain forums, I don't use the opportunity as a means only to only speak on that, because as a woman, I feel that there's so much more going on, that because that's something he constantly covers, it's nice to have a balance. I don't necessarily want to take time to speak about nationality and to speak about birthright solely, because that's something that I am. If you really were to do the research and look into my website, you would be like, wow, she doesn't have any pictures of herself. I didn't want my website to be about me being a Moorish woman. But
I understand that. I wouldn't do it either if I was having a business, you know, because
because then, you know, I'm pissing off Black people, because this isn't what, so you're gonna say this ain't for Black women, they say for, so it's just more. Then they get, you know, people like to pick and nitpick based on what they feel they're lacking. So if I am that by what I look like, by what I talk, by how I raise my son, by what I believe in, by what I celebrate, then I don't necessarily feel as though I have to constantly speak from that position, because it can be a little boring for myself. But personally, my name is Celina Cordoba, L. I was born with my name, Cordoba. My people are from Cordoba, Spain. We were always Moors. We have always been here. We look like this. We look light. We look all phenotypes. My grandmother was a very light-skinned, see-through woman. She married a very dark-skinned man from Panama. All of my people's birth certificates, my mother says country of origin, Panama. My father, country of origin, Panama. But you have to understand, Panama was not Panama up until a certain time as well. So
right.
What do these people of color call themselves? And what does Moros mean? What does Moor mean? You asked me earlier, is it religion? It encompasses everything but Moor, which is why my son is named Amor, not Amor, which was the Spanish pejorative created to create an aspect of what Moors were, which were loving people, but we were also a people of culture, of truth, of finance, of law, of health, of service. So being Moor literally is to be an active thing, which is the same thing I would think of as yoga being something that is off the mat. You learn yoga, you practice it on the mat, but then it's then for you to take those postures, that meditation off the mat, and literally do it in everything that you touch.
To become a discipline.
So being a Moor for me is truly being somebody who is aware that I can grow and become more aware every day. It does not stop. It is not localized. It is not fixed. It is mutable in all aspects and forms. It can respect all cultures, but not be under or beholden to it. So I practice Islam, but I am not Islamic in the traditional sense. All of the religions came out of being Moors, came out of being Moros, came out of more anything that grows. Moors, for me, what Moor means to me is something that is so much more beyond anything of color. You can be somebody that does not look like me and be a Moor because you're practicing growing, you're practicing love, truth, freedom, justice, equality at all times. So I can treat people as equals, but be aware that not everybody else might do the same to me. It is still my right to not slander or to not speak from a space of degradation or negativeness. So if you think about it, it's the highest form of spirituality because I don't, and my purpose here is to constantly reflect that is gracious, that is of love, that is of understanding. So I'm gonna make mistakes. I might cuss you, I might this, but it's gonna be in truth or what I feel is the best truth that I can present. So the whole Christian thing, all of that came into play when there was doubt that wanted to be engendered in people like myself. When the true connection between yourself and the Most High wanted to be challenged and charged. When there was money to be made behind this, when there was money to be made behind the aspect of religion, then that's when nomenclatures were created, land masses were formed, and money was able to be made. Colonies existed before there were states. So what happened to these colonies that then became states, and why did we have to say, okay, I'm from this place and this is who I, or this is what I'm not African American, but growing up, and let me tell you, growing up, I never necessarily was considered or treated African American in the traditional sense because most people that would meet me would assume they were going to be meeting a lighter skinned Latina woman. And so then when you meet me and you're like, oh, your name is Celina and it's Cordoba. Well, I thought, well, yes, what you thought is right. Before Spaniards were white, before they were Castile, they looked like me. I'm sorry, they were dark. And I'm not talking like, oh, kind of like, no, they were dark hued people. We just were. Then we started doing a lot of skullduggery to spread our ish, to spread our power, positions of what we thought was power. And there's a lot of not coolness that Morris did, which was enslave people that were Caucasian. We did a lot of skullduggery. So sometimes, especially back in the day when certain things would happen, I would be like, look, karmically, if that were to exist, I understand why I might be where I'm at because my people might have done a lot to make money off of this entire thing that became a game. And let's move these pieces around and see how we can affect the people within it. So it's not to say that I'm not proud of where I come from. I very much am, but I'm also aware that as above, so below. There's a lot of greatness in Moors, but unfortunately, in this country, what I've met are people that really want to demonize or talk about it from a position of lacking of spirituality or lacking of understanding of the religious aspect of it being something just gratuitous, of it being something so so innate and so something that we always are, even if we are not. That it's like I tell it to you will always be a Moor, but there's not people there. There's many people that will never come into understanding of that. And
well, from a standpoint of being more, the spiritual aspect is, I don't negate that. I'm a former pastor, but I do realize that, spirituality, of course, was breathing, but the true religion of being a Moor, it has to be in there. Science is in there. You know what I mean? The metaphysics is in there. The alchemy that that you work when you make all of these, terrific products is in there.
Like in 2002, 2003, like I would do little stuff, but it really wasn't until Moor was one in 2009 that I just wasn't getting the type of hair products I wanted. I wanted to start to really see certain glow. And I just said, look, I'm going to start making my own stuff for myself. And then if it catches on, great. And slowly but surely it did. But why my business isn't a regular? Because I also made sure that I consecrated it and made sure that it was established internationally. Now, how do you do all those things? That's where it's serious, amazing. I learned a lot on my own. Not one person can make you anything. I had to do everything that I have on my own, which is why I don't necessarily encourage a lot of women to come through this through a man, because it will kind of throw you off. A lot of men don't know what they're talking about. They're not Moors innately. It's something that they're striving to be. But again, you can strive to be something and never become it. So, it's not something that I can say, you're this, you're that. For me, it's just something that I was born into. It's something I am. It's my ancestors. It's everything that I live and breathe. I don't want to be limited to anything. So I'm choosing to also remain a Moor and to bring aspects of the culture that I know my family had to somewhat not necessarily deal with to get jobs, to be dealt with. I'm the progenitor of all that. So I don't necessarily feel like I have to carry the same load and weight that my mom did. She did a lot of stuff that I might not necessarily agree with, but that was her journey. And she laid enough seeds down for me to say, okay, she taught me this, that, and the third. So I know I have a nationality. She might not have known how to maintain it here, but this is also my job to take it a little further than what she was able to take it. So I made sure my son was born with certain things that my mother might not have known, just out of a lack of understanding. So you have to understand, for me as well, the traumatic experience, trauma, or the unfortunate event of losing someone like that, and then meeting someone like Asir and him being like, oh, you're a Moor, and me being like, yes, but what do you know that to be, and do you know what that is? We had a long talk about it the first week that we met each other, but also when I realized that, wow, I don't have to suppress this, and that this person understands that I'm not just Panamanian, now I can talk about it. You can only talk about things with people that are willing to experience that conversation, or else you end up dominating or trying to force someone to see something that you naturally know you are. And that can be a little crazy. So for me, growing up, I never wanted to convince people that I was a Moor, because that's just what I am. Either you're just or not. And if you know, great, we'll talk about it. But you have to understand, things opened up as times changed. Same thing as now. This opportunity to sit here might not have been because it's not popular for women to talk about Moorish science, because in the early 2000s, they, or the community at large, just supported men doing it. And if you were a woman doing it, you had to fall under these people's line or come out of this school. And I'm gonna be real. There is no school or no person that has taught me about Moorish science except myself and being with this person is here. We've decided to be on the path and learn more, but like I told him in 2000, there is nobody that understands how to access, because if there was, my family would have put me onto it. So if we're gonna do anything with really taking this as far back as it can, we're gonna probably be the first people to do it, because I don't know anybody that even understands the spirituality behind being a Moor. What they usually do is they go straight to what they can get out of it. They go straight to the trust, how they can access something that they shouldn't even have the right to access, because it really does come after a certain spiritual understanding. And if we were all going to access that, then why wouldn't I be sitting in a 3,000 bedroom mansion right now? You understand that? Because there's a process, and people don't want to take that process and that time. They just want to get to this. And I see her back in the day, in 2000, I said, there is a way. But according to what we've read, even in according to what Noble Drew Ali has left, none of these temples, none of them have stayed in honor and have not taken. And I told him, and he was like, I know you're right. So if we're going to do this, not only do we have to probably be the first to consecrate our own, because I don't want to be under anything that was set or that was started under some fraternal Masonic. You get a lot of people that, oh, I'm a Moor and I'm a Mason. You cannot be both. I'm sorry, you just cannot be both. People like to say I can be anything I want to be, but certain things spiritually, you just can't. You can call yourself that, but it will not reflect in the cosmos. It will not happen. You cannot serve two masters at once. You cannot be a Mason, someone that is sworn to secrecy, someone who is sworn to keep certain truths that come through Moorish art, Moorish culture, Moorish literature and law. You cannot say, hey, I'm going to keep this amongst this circle, but then in my everyday life still be a Moor. It does not work. You will literally probably get prostate cancer because you will be living such a duplicitous life. And this is the same thing that I've come into contact with when it comes to other women of color, because I'm not, Kemet or Kamishan. I swear myself to one aspect of a cosmology that I know I'm more than. I didn't rub certain people the right way. Certain women of color that might have had sacred schools in Brooklyn, we never rubbed. And it wasn't because I didn't think or love. Energetically, you can tell that this is just something that they're doing to make money. This is just something that people are doing to galvanize a lot of women. But for some reason, the women that get to have the houses and the great marriages and the happy lives are all these light-skinned women. And that is not fair to those women that see stuff like that, but also don't want to say it because now we're just going to be colorists and we're just going to be caught up in not being chosen. No, one thing I want to remind women of color is when a man of color is not attracted to your hue, it is an indication and a sign that you do not need to ask permission. You don't need to deal with him. You don't need to think of him as a man for you. You don't need to think of that as an alignment for your energy. He is not attracted to women of color. They might say, oh, I love my mama, but everything in their life be a little bit lighter, a little shit, because there's a part of them that might not feel comfortable being around whatever. We can't go that deep because everyone is different. Some men might have color issues. Some men might have issues with their women. Like the other day, I was watching this show with Quincy Jones. It was a documentary about his life. And I watched it. And I love Quincy Jones, but Quincy Jones only married white women and women that were really light-skinned and had very light-skinned children. And in watching it, I said, I understand why he did this, because at that time, he might have felt so pressured to say, look, I don't want no trouble with this, that, the third, and I want to be let into these upper echelons of society. And I already know as a baby Mason that it ain't going to be with no woman of color, because one of the conditions of being in these groups is you cannot marry a woman that is darker than a paper bag. It's just there. So these are the secrets that a lot of Masons keep. You cannot bring home a woman that is my color. So again, when women are so like bah humbug, I get it. It does hurt that someone that we might see not be attracted to us based on our skin color. But take that as a blessing in disguise. It's okay. Not all men were trained to believe in themselves and to know that they can be whatever they wanted to be without conjoining or without co-signing that clause. And I watched that with Quincy Jones. Like, this is why he's not with the woman now. Because Peggy Lipton don't know his experience as a black man. I don't care how much they loved each other and gave themselves great children and all of this other stuff. As soon as Quincy Jones started working on A Color Purple with all them people of color, she felt away, and then that's when they got a divorce. And I'm just watching this documentary. So you have to understand that certain men know the game that they're playing and play that game. Those aren't our men. Those aren't our people. Let them play those games and go as far as they want in life. Our men are the men that are going to still not be colorists. Still remember that black women, that women of my color can still produce beautiful babies with beautiful hair and all this other shit, and not be caught up in the type and the this and the skin and all of this other stuff. Every time I just hear black men that marry into white women, they are very aware. I heard it from some other football. Oh, my children don't have their man body. Their mother's white. Like, these men know what they're doing and still do that. Let them people be. Not everybody is born under the same vine and fig tree. Not everybody wants to celebrate being melanated. Not everybody wants to be more than what they are conditioned to believe that they are. And then when you are more, you can go anywhere. You can travel anywhere. You can exist under all cultures, because within that culture you exist.
What do you think we have to do? What do you think we have to do as a as a people, those who are here in a Maxim that are finding their way, that are discovering that they're not African American, that they're not Black, that these are brands and these are things that detract from rather than add to. What do you as you and Brother Asir have, of course I know strategize, and like you said, he's been able to do some things to help you establish yourself as far as an international business because of the things he knows. Why is it that we can't get our people
covered together? That's one thing I will say.
Okay, did you? All right.
That's something important for me because he does know, but his gift in being able to discern energy and information historically, when I met him, that was something I said, if I can do anything is to help what you are expressing so clearly. It's not, no one knows, that's a gift. No one necessarily knows how to explain history where we don't feel on the outside of it. That's not necessarily my forte and my gift, and I don't try to act like it is. Even though I read a lot, I don't have certain photogenic aspects of my memory where I can recount certain dates the way people deserve. I know history. I understand where I'm at. I got my 9 to 8 number on my own. I filed everything on my own. But in how to qualify this paperwork and how to put all of what you know in your mind in a form or a document, that's where I could say both of our geniuses or both of our talents, that's what I learned how to do in college, was write papers, write a thesis, write a transitioning statement, understand what you're saying, who are you writing, what are you asking for, what do you need, what's a collateralistic, what's an indemnity bond, who are you indemnifying, why are you indemnifying them, what's a Schedule A, what's a Schedule C. I learned all this because certain things were happening to me before I met a seer, which was inheriting certain debt, inheriting certain funds that I wanted to make sense of. Why wasn't I able to get the millions that were awarded after my mother's death? What is appellate court? Why was her life brought down into certain monetary forms? Why did this? Why? How? So I definitely taught and learned and understood. So in meeting a seer, it wasn't an allergen. We weren't allergic to the information we were bringing each other. But how do you take all of what you know and make it where we can help other people, where we can show other people, where we can be of service and it not just be us talking until the sun comes up? How do we qualify this? That's why I can say both of our talents, and the things that most people would say is a little dramatic came into play. I'm very, very organized, Virgo-wise, with certain details, with documents and forms, and saying to myself, this is what I can do well, and this is what I need to step back from and allow to take place. If I didn't step back and allow for certain people to contribute, to call us here every day, to be on the phone with certain women for hours, he has to build a government. What does it take to build a government? And what does a government need to be built? Because there is no working government for a nation that we know we exist in. So that means we're going to have to build a government, and we're going to have this government exist outside of. So how do we do that? What are the steps? I was good in social studies. You were good in so-and-so. Let's use all the shit that we learned and formulate and put it together in a cohesive way where if someone else is coming in, that's where all my little college bullshit, because people do want to have something organized. And why does our shit have to look askew? This is why things don't work. Because as a people of color, a lot of people that are Moors get very caught up in who has the most facts and who is the most And I decided, and I told the seer, based on what you shared, now everybody wants to be a Moor. That's great, but not everybody knows what they're talking about. So when you listen to people that are literally challenging and are so upset that certain things might have been brought to the table that has challenged the status quo of reality, you have to understand that you have to have a little compassion and love and understanding and be patient. And just say, the people that are hyped and think that they might be into this, they're going to fall off in 3 to 5 years because they're only invested in it for monetary purposes or to get something out of it. And the spirituality aspect of it will come behind and smack them in the butt. because it's not accessible. It's not for just to start off. It just isn't. So a lot of people that I met years ago that were trying to use aspects of this to literally distract Moors or potential Moors for wanting to be Moors. I would have definitely been distracted listening to YouTube people and being someone off of social media, because it just a lot of people have really dragged it into the mud to deter people from listening to people like us here. So I now am grateful for that energy, because those are blessings in disguise. Those are people that do not need to be a part of what it is we are building, because they do not have faith. They are only holding on to the old school and to the old paradigm of hierarchy, control, secrecy, lies, and all of that is based on it's based on ego and not feeling heard. So really, I've met so many people that are wonderful in this movement, but they are not on social media. We are not on Twitter. We are not sharing our thoughts through certain modalities, because it will dilute what it is we are trying to build. What sometimes it's like that movie, The House of Dreams with Kevin Costner. You have to build it first, and then they will come. You can't expect them to come without building it. So there's a lot of things that I knew back in the day, but because I had certain debt, because I had certain student loans, I wanted to give myself time to put in action what it is I understood, so that years later, like now, I don't have to be in the basement with rats crawling over my head. I can say, hey, you can get kicked out of your house. You can literally have $20 in the bank, and you can slowly figure out how to change that aspect of your life, how to set your computer to just be of that of abundance. Because when you do see depletion, when you have experienced certain things that will throw you off from believing that you can even access certain things, it's hard to believe that you can have that silver spoon without being born with it, or without giving up certain things that you thought you needed to give up or be a part of in order to succeed. Like even in college or even now, I've never joined any sorority. I'm not a part of any sister circle. And it's not because I do love sisterhood. It's because the women that ran these sister circles were actually Eastern Stars and were actually baby little Masons who were only going to raise up and keep close to them celebrities, people that were famous, or people that could give them something. And that's why you don't pedestal elders. That's why you don't put people on pedestals. Because people that I learned from or thought, oh, I can't wait to meet, then you meet them and you're like, wow, this is how.
So disappointed.
So disappointed. And I decided at that like 23-year-old age, when I saw certain stuff, when I saw certain elders that I thought were brilliant, when I saw them pass the baton and applaud and give like homage to people that I could see were charlatans in this, or could see that were just doing it to get a certain amount of women to might find them attractive, or to hustle, or to take people's money. And these were the elders that were supported. I had to tell my husband, I said, Asir, I love you, but we are no longer going to be associated in you. And I see why, Celina, we've never not seen certain things. But you still can't, there was a time people thought Asir wasn't about the people, and he's not into the people and the people. All because very clear, do not interchange or interact your energy with any of these entities. Because some people aren't here to bring synergy. They're just here to cause chaos. And if we don't give them permission to be that in their circle, they will try to bring that into your peace. I've seen this drive a lot of people crazy, break up families, break up marriages, cause dissension because they're not really practicing Moorish anything, nothing. And I had to separate myself and allow those that want to be led astray, be led astray. There is no leading. It's just, I'm going to lead myself. And then at that beacon, if I can help people come up, great. But I am not here to convince anybody to be a Moor. No.
And you shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to do that. And that's what
as a woman of God. that would be a disservice to the creator. Because even though I would love to see that happen, I'm also aware of what this world also entertains. And there's people in this world that would rather entertain that is nefarious, that is Luciferian, that is satanic, that is about stealing and manipulating and coercion for power and for fake. So, instead of giving all of that attention, because I'm very aware of it, I also have to live with this energy. So it's great to be with the seer, but we also have a reality outside of the work that he does, because the reality is that this is who we are. So it never feels like a separation of like, oh, I'm a Moor and it's so difficult. It's not that. What I've noticed, it's difficult for other people to understand that it is such a circumference. It is such a 360, I not to think, but when things feel off, okay, what did I not do yoga? Is my diet? I've kind of been practicing Ramadan for years that I don't really eat solid food until 5 o'clock. I do smoothies and salads and fruit all day. I don't eat anything solid until 5. I don't feel that I have to anymore. I'm not like thinking. There was a time, if you go through vegetarian, vegan, there was a time I was a raw foodist for like 2 years. And then New York taught me it's a little cold for that. I don't want to lose all this weight. You modify stuff. You learn things and you modify. So being a Moor, I've always been a Moor. I've never not been that. So I've never felt like this was something difficult. But when you discover, wow, there's things about our birth certificates, there's things about the agreements our parents were kind of forced to make that they might not have even known.
Right.
That's where the creator is gracious enough in giving us a remedy and giving us time to figure things out. But I'm not in a space of attracting chaos or attracting something where I have to convince people. So I just have thought of what is it that I can create and contribute analogous to the work that a seer does, because my life would have been boring just sitting alongside and dealing with people that really are very argumentative sometimes in nature. A seer has brought the best out and has met amazing people, but we had to weed through so many other energies that sometimes want to contribute or may seem like they have something to contribute. We treat everybody with equality. So that means I'm going to treat somebody that's come to me with, in shit, like golden. And that's okay, because I've learned from that. But, you never know. You might be really throwing a great opportunity out. So I never want to treat people differently, and I don't. But it's like somebody said to me a long time ago, you have the ability, to Celina, to make people feel like you're just talking to them. It's just you and them in the world. And that's a gift, but it can come with a curse, because now people are going to feel slighted when you're not in their life. They're going to feel like you're phony. And I've dealt with that where, it's cool and everything, but I'm not a phone person only because I got so many things to do. Like even now, I'm going to get off at 10 because 8 to 10 o'clock is the only 2-hour break that I'll allow myself, because I know I have people's products to make for tomorrow. And I have something else to contribute and do. So it's to say, to be aware that all of those disciplines, whether it be the things we pick up, it's not to be angry at ourselves for not being one thing forever. I wasn't a raw foodist forever because it wasn't sustainable for me in the cold, right? So you make an adjustment. The same thing, I'm going to be cool to every person of color until I realize, oh, they just acting black. They just want to be, and they get this. They don't want to be more. There is no trust in this. Those are the people that are not going to be around me or any of this, because I really don't want to be played and I don't want to be manipulated and used. And for years I would do cooking shows with a more vegan, vegetarian, but I'm going to be honest, I was not making any money or meeting people. Like, it was cool. I love doing that. I still do it. But when you're spending so much time preparing ingredients to have, a cooking, whatever, and I give things 3 years. I put all my energy into this for 3 years. If I don't see any growth or I retain for myself. I stop expecting a result from the outside, and I just go within again and say, okay, I love this, but Not everybody might be picked up with their vegetarian or vegan cooking show. So I had to still love cooking vegetarian and vegan, but know that I've contributed over 65 recipes on this Cooking More for Less show. But maybe this isn't for me because my shows, I'm not making any monetized money. I'm spending so much time doing this that I'm not developing that. Little things. Same thing
And
with
how long have you been doing your organic product line? How,
organic product line since 2009, but it was really like official in 2013. I LLC'd it. 2014, everything was international. There's steps. I didn't come out the gate with my 98 number and different things. I had to establish the business first, then get the LLC, then understand how to establish it internationally. Because there was no one to teach me how to do that. I was literally probably the first person that did it. Now, okay, I did it well. Now, let's see. Okay, now we can teach other people how to do it. But you got to be the guinea pig before you show somebody something.
true.
So, I can talk about something, but until I bring it into physical reality, you understand? Same thing with working out. I'll do all this yoga, but then I have to also realize I don't have, a typical body that maybe a lot of people might want to achieve. So I can give all this yoga on camera, but am I going to be swayed by what the camera wants and what people want, or by what I know I can hopefully attain in life, which is I don't want to constantly be at the whim financially of something else. I want to be able to provide, but I also know that I'm gonna always be tested at a job. Any job I have after 3 or 5 years, my hair gets questioned. I get questioned about this. It's never what I think it's gonna be. So, as much as I know how to talk and have a degree and all of this, I'm always gonna be compared to this light-skinned woman or this white woman. And instead of being annoyed with that, why don't I just create my own reality where I'm not constantly putting myself in the position to be thing. It's like my mom used to say. She used to say, look, your sister's light skin. She's not going to have to work that hard at that. You're going to have to work a little harder because the world wants to see more from women that have browner and darker skin. I would love to lie to you and tell you it's different, but I'm not. I'm not going to tell you. Your light skin sister can stand right there, get 10. You're going to have to do, and I'm telling you, you know what? Now it's fortified me because I didn't know when I was younger that my mom was actually instilling certain stuff based on how the world was. She knew that my sister might get certain attention because she's really light skinned, right? And she did, whether it be for duck duck. It didn't make me angry because my mother would always pull me aside and go, you know how special you are that you have this brown. So she would always tell me something so unique and special about me that I never wanted to be. It was a great way of me not feeling lesser than, but it also created structure and discipline. Where in certain ways, my sister just, I'll get this. I was sorry, you light skin and you ain't get that yet because it's like it should come with certain ease for you. Certain things just flung, and we would test it. We would go shopping, we would test it. So I stopped being angry at this and just know this is how the world is. So if I'm gonna want to exist in it, I'm gonna have to have something that's not constantly in flux based on what someone else sees me as.
right.
So I've had my business for a while, but even then I waited tables. I worked at anything that I could do to always pay this $1,500 rent. Because again, when you are without a family or a mom, there was a part of me that was just grateful. I said to myself the other day, you attracted this man. Sometimes women don't want to attract men with, baby mama drama or any type of other issues, but sometimes those issues are given to certain men to keep you from investing your energy with them. So I'm grateful that I didn't write a seal off because someone that had lost their mom and their family, I had to also be honest and say, how is a man going to believe that I'm not crazy? How is the man going to believe that I was loved and that I can be trusted? Or how is that going to happen when I don't have anybody to show for me? So there was a part of me that was grateful that I attracted somebody that was willing to be like, I can kind of see behind and see that this is, and had faith in me as well. So again, not to put all our eggs in baskets that they don't deserve to be in. I've only been with 2 men in my life, a seer and one other guy. And I always keep him kind of quiet because he has a family. He's great with where he's at, I'm sure. But it's to be respectful. I'm not ashamed of it. But not everybody's to have experiences or to be with a multitude of men. I've never been with a woman, even though a seer has been with 2 women at once. That's not been my experience. And that's what I mean by that journey and that path. You don't have to put yourself. And I said to him, look, you've been with 2 women, but I've never kissed a girl. And for me, I've never experienced that. I'd have to be in love. For me, being in love is caveat. Emotional connection and intellectual property is caveat. I could not experience certain things that other women might be able to because that's just not the journey that my life was on. I that just didn't happen.
But yet you seem to I've seen some of your one of your videos in particular. I wasn't sure what song you were doing, and you had the cigar or something, and you're and what I noted is that you're very comfortable, you're very sensual, you're very sensual in your presentation.
Let me say something, love. That's the used to piss on Rasta's walk back in the day. And now I laugh because I am the only one with all my hair. So it's, don't wrap up your hair to please no man. I've never, thank God, have been violated or anything. So I've always been very grateful. But my knee scars, all of my scars on my body, the work that I've done, there was times that I did not wear skirts because I didn't like the way my knees looked. And I was unproud of the dark lines that they had. They're the same color now, but these were so dark. And, I've gone through so much as a young woman that humbled me with my appearance that, I definitely worked to have certain tone. I would tell some people, oh, you just naturally. No, I'm not. I do yoga.
You're not naturally like that.
No, I do yoga every day. If I skip a day, I make sure I do it. Then I really do yoga every day.
If someone is like older, if they've never done it, they're old. I'm like, for instance, like say me, and I wanted to start, and somebody has, none of us have back problems, knee problems, whatever.
What I'm going to do this year, and I laughed. I said, now I'm going to do, because I did do a yoga video back in the day, and sometimes people have you in a space where that's all you're to do. For me, I love working out on camera, but I didn't want to be like the narcissist sweating on the camera every day and showing people, because it becomes extra. And then you're like, you don't do anything else for working out. Like for me, I just, don't like seeing anything be oversaturated. So I'm going to actually start an entire low impact workout series for women because I don't do heavy impact aerobics anymore. I don't jump rope anymore. I used to be a little bit more intense. Since my foot surgery last year, I don't even know if y'all can see it, but I have no scar, no keloid, no nothing. This is literally, I don't know how to do that where you can see my foot. This is literally the first scar that I have where I don't have a scar. No, nothing. I'm so grateful. Because
your Instagram pictures when you first had the surgery are, when I saw that, I mean, I had a surgery like 76, and then 2 more times I had on the same foot. And the scar is like, I used, how you like, if I could have a wish, I was like, I want the scar. I wish for the scar to be gone from my toe. And I used to look every so often and see, and eventually it started to, but like I just showed you before we went on camera, I have the scars on the knees because in 2017, I ruptured both of my quad tendons.
Absolutely. Like you can see my knees, but you see these, they come from here to here on both legs.
Yes. But they're like skin color for you almost.
Skin color now. They're
right.
Really, but they were really, really dark black for like a good 15 years, 15.
So what did you do? Is that your because I'm sure there's people probably watching. We as melanated people, keloid, and I have that issue.
Nobody, they don't understand black skin. Black skin don't work like white skin. I'm sorry, white folk can benefit from our skin routines and our regimen, but I can never use white products or what white girls would use on their skin. My shit absorb that in a minute. I need a little luster. I need stuff that's gonna last. And when you touch, you feel like a dew on you, but you're not oily. My face is really sensitive. It breaks out to everything. And again, scars are deep because people don't understand keloids unless you've had them. And having keloids on all of it, that was the one thing that I was so scared to get this surgery with, because it was a bone spur that was really, really obnoxious. Hold on, one more. You can come and sit here and say hi to everybody. You're funny. You can come right here. Come right here. I don't even know if you can see it. This is a more, he's hilarious because he's asking me to open a pickle jar for himself. You put your hair back again. I'll open it for you. The other one is open. I opened one already. Wait, this is open. Look. Oh goodness, taking my attention. Go ask your father where he is. I don't know where he is either. I haven't heard him since I've been on. Anyway, all of it, just leave it a more because you're gonna get it on the sofa. Don't do it on the couch. I don't want the pickle juice everywhere. I'm sorry, you guys. So it's to say that not everything works for scars, keloids, and all that other stuff. And I was just tired of it. I'm tired of the 1 ounce healing thing. And if I drop it, it breaks on the floor. I needed some variety. We need stuff that's 6 ounce, 8 ounce. And I'm tired of feeling overcharged for stuff. Like, none of my stuff has shea butter in it, but I try to be very mindful and bring people into the world of this new feeling textured lotion and body stuff, because they're not going to feel anything like it. And I'm not a bold person, but I'm really proud. And this is where I have to take credit for my recipes, because I only created them because I didn't have any access to anything like it. I never felt anything that was like this. And I'm really proud that I took 7 to 8 years to really, before I even share stuff, I get my litmus test, sticks out. There's even a friend I have that's like, yo, a kinesiologist that does stuff with the lab shit. She's like, all of your stuff is like 98%, 99% pH balance. I took it to find out if this was in it. The guy said it's really, really. So that means a lot to me, because I'm not saying that other people's products is lying, but whatever chemicals and perfumes or whatever is in it, it doesn't allow for our skin to work or to heal or to be in a state of regeneration. After like 2 or 3 weeks, it freezes, because your skin is an organ. It's got pores. It's open. You can inject whatever. So again, essential oils, why are they needed? Why did I create the astrology line? Knowing that, okay, we start off with January. January's Capricorn. Capricorn rules the this and the that, the joints, the shoulders. February's Aquarius. Aquarius rules, the ankles, your feet, your heels. Aries rules the head. Virgos rules the intestine. Why do we have anise? Why do we have coffee? Why is anise seeds in the Cancer stuff? Why is vetiver oil in vetiver? So there's different, again, being kept from certain types of therapy, because we are just financially not accessible to spending so much money on essential oils, and white people coming into our communities to talk about different stuff that we actually have access to, but because we're kept from it or we're not told how to access it, they just now seem to have all these secrets. It's not real. It's not true. So, for me, it's just, and I know as well, because there was a time in our lives that Asir and I went to some of these seminars, went to some of these white, black, just to be universal, to be more as a thing. And these white folk would make stuff up on spot just because we were in the cipher or want to see more, or they don't have no secret to nothing. I'm telling you guys. They create great vocabulary, and they're organized, and they have money. That's it. So they always look like they're winning, because when you have money, you can create the illusion to be as happy as you want.
We would call that, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, you baffle them with bullshit. And that's basically what
when you're left a great house and you're left all of this through birthright or through whatever, they family stole it from us centuries ago. So they're naturally in the brownstones in Park Slope and the brownstones in certain neighborhoods. But that's not the way that it always was. And it's just to remind that it's just financial. So if we can exist as kings and queens and be regal and still have great nights eating out of one plate and make the best out of our little, God's got to reward us, because, again, we're doing the most with the least. We become the most inventive. Certain things I discovered just because I didn't have access to certain shit. And I was like, oh my God, this does this when I do this with that. And again, I'm not finding this in products because no wealthy person gonna sit there shucking aloe. They can just buy shucked aloe. So now what's the difference when you actually shuck it with a razor and you mix it with certain things at a certain degree? This all comes, it's like the mother of invention comes from necessity. It does sometimes take place like that. And me being frustrated, like, how is it that this person's selling this coffee butter that I don't even smell as coffee butter for $90? Like, I was just frustrated. So I wanted real coffee, real stuff that was going to help long term. And I said, no one's going to do it because everybody got too much money to do everything mass marketed. They have the marketing team and they're famous and they're in a magazine. So you might be a little frustrated, Celina, but don't be frustrated because you know what it's like to wait tables for people that you did their term papers for. You know what it's like to live in a hotel because you didn't have enough money for first month, last month security right away. And you don't want to ask for a GoFundMe and you don't want to do a so-and-so. So I just took a little longer and things take a little while, but that's the only reason why at 43 I'm able to share stuff is because because I'm a little older and I didn't even realize, oh, I'm getting old. So certain things that just took a while, like I paid off the student loans no more. But how? I didn't know what I know at 24 or at 25 the way I did at 32 and at 35. So it constantly grows. I'm more stop walking in front of it now. So it constantly grows. And it's just to say that that's how life is. Things grow, things that you thought you knew, you refine and figure out you know a little more. But one thing that I've never, and I would encourage people to do is never compare yourself or put yourself in the, back in the day, I used to be like, oh my God, this person did two, and this is like in 2009, because Amore must have been 1 or 2. I used to be like, wow, I've done this cooking for this long. This person's done one thing, and then they find, you don't know what their backstory is. You don't know how. They might have that thing. You don't know. I used to be like, wow, I've done 65, and I only have 600 followers. No, it's not for you. Maybe you got to do something else. Shift the energy, Celina. I'm not going to keep teaching yoga on screen when people that are just like, naked doing it. You say, oh, Celina, you're comfortable. But I'm comfortable with my physique, but I don't have no big physique to be comfortable with either. I'm 5 foot and 100 pounds, So at the end of the day, a lot of women that were very voluptuous were getting so much attention with stuff. And I'm not going to be upset because that beauty is to attract. But, is it healing? Is it helping us with ailments? Now I'm just at a space where I'm just grateful that certain things that I put my energy into, I can start to see a return from. I wanted to be able to provide for my son and to not always take the bus with groceries. That's where I was years ago. And to say, well, Asir is brilliant, but how is this brilliance going to translate into being a child support?
It's not always a financial or monetary gain because you think it is, but a lot of times people just want to get from you what they can and they don't like thank you or no thank you. But you know what I want to say to you, when I ordered your products, and I know we're about at the we're actually 2 minutes with you, we can go longer, but I know you have to go. But when I ordered your product, and the thing that before I'd even tried the products, but when I opened the package, the beautiful pink, I think it was a pink or either pink or silver. I'm trying to think silver. Gold, something metallic, right? But when I opened it, it was your card where you thanked me. You didn't know who I was, but you had written your thanks for me purchasing your product. And that
I just gotta say thank you for I can do. I've had a little bit more volume, so I can't handwrite everybody now, but I do type and email everybody a personal email.
You signed this, and it was just wrote that thank you, and it meant a lot. And then I went on into of course to use the product, and then I had to say thank you.
I'm always surprised when I call them. Like sometimes people don't write something right or make a mistake, and sometimes I go, maybe this is for me to call. They're always surprised when I give them a phone call or write them, or and that means so much to me because I really am here. It's just sometimes, again, that feeling of, oh, she was so personable and then she wasn't. sometimes that happens because I literally have like 120 orders for the night to fulfill, and I don't want to be overwhelmed and not having help. So I don't check emails, and I try not to be on any phone because I really just have to focus and produce all this on a kitchen counter table. In a couple months or years, I hope to have a larger space, but again, stepping stones. No silver spoon. You have to have stepping stones, and I'm grateful that I'm not where I was a couple years ago. I can see growth. I have a car now. I didn't have one before, but even in having a used car, I came to Miami, and when I went to the car dealership, they were like, "How are you driving this? You get out of this. Get into." I didn't even know that I was eligible for something better because my credit was so high. He was like, "Your credit's over 700. Like, there's no way that you don't have, like, your credit's in 780. You can get a great car." So I was surprised with stuff because I never actually had, I had to build my credit. My credit was nothing at once, and then I had to build it after paying off my student loans, and everything is a process. So, you don't start off right away, but again, people with great financial stories or a little help from their families, that's what's supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be in situations like myself where you just really have to work, and for the first 20 years of your adult life, you're just spending rent, that you actually can't see any fruition from anything, that it can be very daunting. And then you can just fall into anger, which can break the abundance portal. And so you just want to play this game of being like, well, you know what? It could be worse. It could be worse. It could be worse. And you constantly remind yourself that it can be worse. And you constantly are grateful for what you do have. And for me, just being grateful that I can stand on my feet, that I can try to bend. I could be worse than what I am now. So be grateful for what I have and think about what I can build more on tomorrow. And if I want to be a beacon, what can I change in my own frequency, in my own life? What can I stop entertaining? For me, it was difficult because it was my sister. How do you not look out for your blood sister when a tragedy like losing your parent takes place? I've had for years, but then at times my sister was not valuing certain things, whether it be flooding the bathroom or flooding the apartment or doing things that weren't always there. And it's okay. Some of us go through certain mental things that challenges us mentally. And if you're not aware of certain mental ailments, you might not know how to say, hey, this is beyond my help, my fixing. Sometimes things happen that can really break some people psychologically, and as well as certain things are, for me to constantly put myself in a space of enabling and helping someone that was very capable was starting to cause frustration in my life. So I decided to do things that were like tough love, which could be perceived as not nice. And sometimes you have to not be nice to everything and everybody in order to protect your own sanity. And if I can tell more people that if you're taking care of somebody that's just really bad, whether it be a parent, it's to find that balance of not feeling played or feeling so used, because that can really drain one's life chi. And a lot of us sometimes just are forced to have to deal with things that aren't our responsibility. So how do we, create certain boundaries? That's really what I think all of us, or really I'm here to also help people discover. It's not like, oh, this is just so easy. It becomes easy, but how do you find joy without having certain communal support if you don't have a state wedding, if you don't have a community at your wedding, if you don't have grandparents, how to look at your life abundantly when you don't have the things that other people might say equate to stable, conscientious living.
Well, you are a great example. You are a terrific woman, an empress of 10,000 years. I wise beyond your years, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your alchemical skills and the fact that you have created such a wonderful product line, of which I'm about to discover some more, because after this show is over, we're gonna have to.
You don't have to go on. But to all other people as well, I really thank you guys for taking a minute to look through the website. It wasn't to cause confusion, but what really helps is if you are looking to make a decision and you're like just stumped, just take a second to read about what each product does, because there's an explanation there. And also, if you do want to write, like I definitely will write you back, but it might take me like a day because I don't check my emails to the end of the night. And that's usually like at 3 a.m. And I will write you back. It's difficult to modify stuff. Like sometimes, well, you think the website is there just to keep, only because it's becoming more accessible and I wanted more value. That's what you want. But I'm grateful that I haven't had to rely on the regular marketing team to have that be possible. So I really want to thank people for spreading it, because this month coming up, well, I'm going to definitely bring out the Virgo line. And I'm extremely excited because I'm going to start to try to share on Twitter and on other social media realms. It's just, for me, it allows me to stay very focused. Even when I share something, I remove the app from my phone right after I share it, just so I'm not like, ding, ding, ding.
To see your comments.
It's too much for me, and then it doesn't have me just be in this channel. I wake up in the morning, I do yoga from 7 to, like, I have to really think so that I can complete these orders and not have people wait 2-3 days. I'm not into that. I want to get your stuff out the next day, if not 2 days. So when there's a huge volume, I still have a son and certain things I have to take care of. So I just like to be very grateful for those people that do take a minute to look at what they want. If you are stumped, the hair products are all there, but there's a hair care kit, the hair oil kit, so many kits for you guys to just, the face kit. None of the cleansers are with Castile, no perfume. So I just really thank you guys for trusting in a company that was going to give you more than an ounce in a glass. The reason why my stuff isn't in any box is because there's so many different sizes of things. I didn't want the presentation to be more of an investment than the actual contents in your envelope. So some people get 16 ounce, some people get 2. There's very different boxes. It's hard to find a box that can curtail to everybody's order. So I try to keep it very simple with the packaging, but very personable and detailed with the contents. And that's something that I'm grateful for. Oh, there's dry brushes. And I started giving out these oyster loofahs. I must have given out 50 already. But anybody that gets like a body wash from me, I'm just giving away oyster loofahs. They're thicker in exfoliation and texture, and just they're all vegan. Sometimes you'll get loofahs from the store and they're synthetic. I didn't want any synthetic anything for anyone. And just the dry brushing, why it's so good for us. And to be reminded that our lymph nodes are not in our bums and our glutes, but are in our actual lymphs and are on the sides of your brain.
Yeah.
Brushing. You don't even have to worry about massaging your booty or doing all that. It really is just to brush from your feet all the way to your crown, absolutely up. And that's really great because then you don't need to do as much exfoliating or masking because all the slowing is coming out. And
there's nothing like taking a shower and then getting out the shower and then you're still you got all this dead skin that's still on you.
And something I want to share with you guys, I'm actually going to add it to the website tonight and tomorrow. This is Cordoba 22. You can't see it. I got 2 little treats. One is for plants, your plant life, and the other is for your body. It's a unisex body spray. But I love the body spray that I use so much. And everybody asks me, what are you wearing? What is that? Or what is that smell? And I used to be like, oh, I don't want anybody to smell like me. Now I'm like, if everybody can smell like this, I don't mind anymore. That was like when I was a teenager. I used to wear like Carolina Herrera and Shalimar, this other perfume that my mom used to like, Girl On. And I used to like not telling anybody because it was my unique smell. Now I'm not like that. Now it's like however I can spread it. So it's to say that the apothecary of plants is really just this little plant spray for your plant life. I've noticed a lot of people that ask me or that think through the YouTube thing that I did, they'll find little gnats or little flies coming out of their plants. So I just created a nice cedarwood, neem oil-based spray for your plants. And then Cordoba 22, again, it's going to be the unisex. The label came back, so I'm putting it on the site. It's going to be a unisex body spray, but it's really just like an anointing body spray that smells amazing. You put it in your hair, your body, anywhere you want, but the ingredients are on it, and it's unisex. It's for men and women, but it literally, wherever I go, if it's the steam room, the kitchen, the grocery store, someone's always like, I can smell you, Celina. So I literally laugh because if I could bottle this. It took a little while because I wanted to not make it very expensive, and it's there now. So I'm gonna add that this tonight probably before I go to sleep to the website. And whatever orders come in this week, I just pray this week if you do place an order, I thank you. I sometimes am like, I don't need to do this because I accept all the volume and I welcome it. I just ask between the 18th and like 21st just to give me a couple days this week if it does. Sometimes I do stuff and I'm like, I don't know if it's going to bring a lot of, if it does bring some more volume, I thank you guys, but just wait 2 or 3 days and you will get your tracking email sent to you with the email you sign up with, just to let you know that it's going to be on its way in 2 days. Priority takes 2 or 3 days now, and I would send stuff through FedEx, but it's way too expensive to ask. So something I don't tell people, I charge the flat rate of $5 for flat rate shipping, but everybody's products comes out to about $7.75 in shipping, and I pay for every difference because it's not a problem to pay those $2 when someone has invested in you like that. So don't think that it's not. Sometimes people get stuff that's $13 to send, and because they've just invested, I'd rather figure out how to do that shipping cost when I can. I'm really bad with designing that aspect of the website, so I'm really learning, even though I upload everything and do everything on my own. One thing that I'm still trying to figure out how to remove is the check option. Don't send no checks. It doesn't accept checks. It'll put your order on hold. So do pay with a debit or credit card. And if you have any issues, you can call me if you need a cash app, all that other good stuff. And thank you.
I want to say too that especially the Rosemary's Baby hair syrup, that's good for men and women. Men, if men are, you got that receding thing happening and all that, this is gonna.
It really works. I used to twist my hair up a lot just to keep the new growth and all that. I don't know if you can see it, but I don't know if you can see it. It's the hair. It's the energy of the light as well.
We see it.
I don't know if you can see all this, but
yeah,
I don't twist any of my new growth anymore. What I do is I just let the water hit my face, and then I just grease everything like they're locks. But I stopped pulling back because it just was too much work, and I'm like, what am I pulling my hair back for? I have curly hair, why not show my like I'm done with catering and trimming and pulling and twisting. My hair wants to do this now. Let it do this now. I have a whole set, like you will literally see all my new growth is like this, but these are the parts of my hair that do not twist up easily. They don't attach to the other lock. So I just leave it. I just leave it now and let it do its thing, and it's healthy and it's fine.
It's beautiful. Your locks are beautiful.
It's different. A lot of people, why don't you lock? Because I don't want to pull and create thinness and make my, just leave it like a bonsai tree. If that's how it grows, just let it grow like that. But I like it to be conditioned. I like to have some structure so I don't look like a wild woman. Totally wild, and that's
how long are your locks?
I'm sorry?
How long are your locks? How long have you been?
How long? They're like, I don't know if you see them. They're like on my knee.
Okay. How many years of growth is that? I'm sure
they're I don't even do all of that. I said I'm not gonna let them grow past my like kneecaps. If they go past my kneecaps, I think that's when I'll start to just be my.
How long have you been locked?
Since 2000. So
20 years. Okay. Wow.
It didn't lock until like 2004.
Someone is asking in the chat. This question says, if you have any,
if I have what?
Anything for alopecia? Sorry, just came in. Yeah.
The Rosemary's Baby hair magic musical hairs, star anise, hibby hair oil, the hibiscus hair, all of the hair products will grow your hair out. Nothing is not going to not allow your hair to grow. And it's the same thing with your skin. All of my products are actually interchangeable. You can use the hair products on your body. If you were like, yo, I ain't got no money this week for no blah, use the hair products on your body. They will work. It's not like it will break you out. I just have specifics for the face because my face is sensitive and all of our faces are. So you don't want to use stuff that's a little heavier for your hair on your face. That's the only thing. But in times of desperation, I remember I used my Rosemary's Baby on my face because, you know, I was on the airplane, whatever, and I just used it. But didn't break me out. Everything has actual infused herbs in it. I use these big glass, you know what they are? You know the things that you get when you're serving people tea at like an iced tea party?
Yeah,
and teas, these big glass things that you serve like lemonade and iced tea. I have like 4 of those, and that's where I pour all the oils, but then I can do the tissue, the cheesecloth of the herbs, throw that in there overnight, make sure the temperature, but they're big enough that I can infuse the herbs that I want. So I have one for just the hair, a specific one for just the hippie hair, the rosemary hair jump off, but then I have one that's just for like the ones that I add to the skin butters. So I know it just has the pomegranate oil in it, the argan oil, the macadamia, the grapeseed, and the vitamin E. There's a certain amount you use so that it does not start to smell acidic or rank, and you will not have expiration. The aura mask is the only thing that I send dry now, like the powder, because if you add the and I give a note, if you add the apple cider, it's a longer shelf life than when I used to make it. And these are things I discovered by doing stuff. Like, you know what? It'll be easier for me to send it to people where they add their actual apple cider than me doing that. And then because, you know why? Apple cider is combustible because it's fermenting. If you do it before, God forbid it's cold outside, it might pop in the package. So all this years ago, I discovered I said, I'm gonna make my life easier. And the same thing for the product. So again, nothing perfumey, no mineral oil, no soy flour, no soy. Soy will develop boobs on your boys. Your boys will start to look a little effeminate. You keep them pretty and beautiful, but you don't want them to start developing gonads or having issues with their breasts because
man boobs. They don't need man boobs for them. Yeah. So
a lot of lavender oil. You don't want to use too much lavender for boys because lavender will also stimulate. It's the same thing why I started maca maca. Maca is great because it will give you a little, but it's not like there's a oil a lot of people use, but it will stimulate your thyroid in a really poor way. You got to be careful that you're not using certain essential oils inappropriately because plants definitely have healing properties, but certain plants will throw your menstrual off. It might throw your digestive system off. So I wanted to create stuff that was really going to not come in conflict with any of these things.
A couple of questions, if you don't mind, before you go. This one, what's best for clear, I guess your product for clear, glowing face?
A clear, glowing face? Your Calpalp, Rose Play Alchemy, Calpalp, Foy, Fountain of Youth, and the dew that I make. It's a daily enriching witch hazel. Try saying that 3 times. Daily enriching witch hazel. Witch hazel is always wrong. They'd use alcoholic witch hazel, and a lot of witch hazels will not have a little oil, a carrier oil. Witch hazel's dope, but it'll leave our pores a little open. If it's non-alcoholic, it'll be better. And I add argan oil and jojoba oil, just a couple drops, but adding that to the infused calendula with the rose blossoms, it really works. And it's hard to get fresh herbs now. So you want to have a great relationship with a farmer, which I'm grateful I have, which is the only way I can get the rosemary stalks. I'm not putting in little rosemary flakes. I'm putting in a whole stalk of rosemary so that it's really good. And some things you just want in your bottle so that it keeps even though I make Rosemary's Baby with it separately, I still will put in a fresh stalk so that you can see that in your bottle because that's something that is not, people don't do that. It takes forever to add these details. What's good?
Yeah, I see the rosemary in here. You got the.
And that's an older bottle because
Yeah,
right around Corona times there was a bottle drought. The bottles are back in popping now, so I'm sorry I had to make a couple of adjustments. And I even told people that, but I like translucent bottles because I really do use real herbs and a lot of plants that a lot of other companies can't afford to really personalize and sift through each bottle. So those details take a while, and I'm grateful. All fresh calendula blossoms and roses. Same thing when it comes to your face stuff. You want to use the beets and roses. It's very good to really get all that dirt off. But then Amor was going through some puberty, so Kelp Help came at a time for a mineral, just a mineral wash, because I am getting a little older and I noticed some sunspots when I wasn't putting SPF on my face back in the day. So that's where the Sun Kiss came in. And
so you have to, yes, because someone asked about probably best for facial sun damage. So you're talking about
the Sun Kiss came in years ago. And shout out to all companies that use that name now and are inspired and stuff. Sun Kiss came from the color that it made. It looked like Sun Kiss, the orange little shoes that I used to love. So I called it Sun Kiss because it looked like Sun Kiss, the soda, literally the drink. So that's how I came up with that name, Sun Kiss. That came out years ago, but it's great because it's a natural SPF for our skin. I do burn. All of this will peel and shit if I don't take it natural. So sunscreen is as a necessity. But again, what's in it that's not going to break me out, but still give me good skin and all that other stuff. And I'm very dark skinned, so you want stuff that's going to allow the different tones in your complexion to show as well. I don't wear any makeup, no. And it's not like a pride thing. I just don't wear any makeup. It's so sunny and sweaty out here. Yeah, just when we running makeup off my face, I've never worn it. So a little lip gloss, but maybe if I was going out at night, a little mascara. But I'm so dark, you really can't even see mascara unless you're on my eyes like that. So I just keep it simple, so I'm not sweating off stuff during the day. But you want, Kelp Help is great. The Rosemary's Baby is really good. The hibiscus hair oil is made with hibiscus, but then it's also made with a little cranberry. It doesn't dye your hair. It's not going to change your hair color. But I just noticed using really good oils in my hair, I don't have a lot of grays. My grandfather went gray by 16, so there is some genetics in your life, but you don't have to have under our eye circles because you're Indian or because genetically that's what your grandmother or your great-grandmother, that's all fallacy. It's an iodine and probably an iron deficiency, and it's also just what you're putting on your face. A lot of products have natural bleaching agents in it now. Even the ones that you rave about that are new, not to diss any company because that's not my intent, but they do have certain bleaching agents in them that will stop working on your skin, like your skin won't look clean and good. You'll stop glowing after 2 or 3 weeks.
What about hyperpigmentation? Because I have, my mother had it and I have that, and a lot of people I notice have that.
My aunt had vitiligo, and people to this day are like, how did she get rid of it? She's like, I don't know how I got rid of it, but vitiligo, a lot of it, and that was when she was a baby. Like people in Panama, she used to have the real blotches. And when my one aunt Amelia, and just like no blotches anymore, but she, some are, I have to still find the herb because I do believe that vitiligo is a deeper condition and I haven't figured it out yet. There's a part of me that's like, I'm gonna figure out vitiligo. But anyway, it's very genetic and it's a little bit.
Well, with hyperpigmentation, you're dark.
Hyperpigmentation is also, it's also these, I hate to say it is a result of using inappropriate shit on your face for years. Bleaching screens, stuff that's going to rip and tear. And also, when you have a pimple and it leaves a mark, what do? How do you stop preventing these dark marks on your skin? It comes from the oils you use. First of all, you don't want to pop anything. We follow a lot of estheticians' rules that are actually following Caucasian and other people's sciences and chemistry that has nothing to do with our skin, nothing to do with our chemistry, nothing to do with the alchemy of our bodies and how we digest stuff. So it's not to disrespect, but it's just to say it's a little different for our skin. We don't need a lot of shit, a lot of peeling and attention that a lot of other people need. Our skin will naturally hydrate and tell us when something's off. I can know when I'm eating too much wheat based on something in my skin. I don't have it there because I try to watch that and I don't. But wheat for me, too much wheat is like eating bagels. So I just don't eat bagels. I never eat bagels. Never, 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 never. I do pizza, but I don't eat bagels because I know it's an overproduction of candida, which affects everything, right? So you got to watch all of that. But really, hyperpigmentation is we have darker skin and then it leaves a darker mark, or light skin, like my sister, where you can see all her hair. Any little thing she does, she's like, you can see it. But this also happens from using irritating agents on our skin. Vitamin E, I know a lot of people, oh, no, you don't think. You have to use vitamin E on your skin, even if you're light skin or dark skin, to remove marks and pops. Do not use bleaching creams. They will cause problems further down in your life. The only way I know that this is true and real as well, I'm a little older now. I'm in my 40s, and I can tell you that I see the results on women that have been using bleaching creams, whether they be Ambi or anything else. Allow your lips to be a little darker. I smoke, I even have a thing with that, but since my mom is passed, I really do smoke herb, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not like, oh, you don't. No, I do smoke herb. You have to stay a little bit more conscientious and hydrated when you do, because you will dehydrate if you are not putting fluids in your body. So you constantly, like this, you are constantly having a pomegranate, a hydrating something next to you, but you want to use stuff that's not going to strip. So the Daily Enriching Witch Hazel is excellent. It's so good. Everything that I sell, I use on myself, which I found to be different than other people that make stuff. Like, how you going to use this shampoo when you make your... So I took time. All of my gel cleansers are gel-based. Heavy olive pomace, really, really good for your skin. No Castile soap stuff. So it's not thin like water, even though I love a Dr. Bronner's. That a great springboard, great for me to say, writing all the details of my labels isn't going to be too much. If I can sit on the toilet and read Dr. Bronner's, somebody going to read the ingredients on why you know.
There's a lot of stuff on Dr. Bronner's. But you know what? I have an issue. Any soap that itches, it itches my arms. I'm like, what? Why are my arms different from the rest of my body?
Also be the water and the fluoride in your water. A water filter on my shower, my skin stopped itching. But I can't do that to the one I'm living in here. So I literally laugh because I was able to do that on one of my showers. It can be the heat, like funny enough, hot water. If you're in the shower, I love a hot water shower. I also have a shower spray now. So when you're in the shower, you can just, oh my God, it smells so good. But the shower spray, hot water, dope. But when you're getting out, put a little cool water on to close your pores so that you're not itching and feeling so dry after. A lot of our stuff comes from how much fluoride and how much stuff is in
the filter. I got some filters I got to get on that. Somebody also wanted to know if you have any product for foot fungus.
Yes. Oh, fungus.
Foot fungus, yes.
Oh, that's a good one. Fungus, I could say no, because fungus is a little different. I can make something like just with extra neem in it, or extra stuff for fungal properties in it, or tea tree in it. A fungal toe cream though, Revive, it has peppermint in it and it has a little shot. It won't be enough for a fungus. And that's something else I wanted to mention. I've been healing a lot of brothers and talking to a lot of brothers that are going through some problems. If you have a sexually transmitted disease, you will have discharge coming out of your penis. I'm jumping real quick. But a lot of guys are trying to heal themselves when they reach the state of discharge. Don't do that. You might have chlamydia to such a degree where it can cause other fertility issues down the line. You need to see someone that not only can draw your blood. I'm all down for the natural, but you have to have your blood examined. No herb, I can't just look at you and be like, oh, I know what you're dealing with. So some people I want to help and heal with herbs, but if you have a sexually transmitted disease, i.e. a discharge out of your vagina or your penis, I need to know the details about that, number one. Number two, you have to really see a doctor and be careful, because not everything is treatable with herbs once you've taken it too far. Some people take it too far and then try to just heal with herbs. No, you've got an issue now. You need penicillin. You need an antibody to kill that, so you are not passing on anything to anyone else. So, oh no, but I heard stories, and Dr. Sabi, thank God, but he is no longer here. We are still living in the shadow of some of our great healers, but if they did not leave the keys, you cannot just expect to heal yourself on some yarrow root with a sexually transmitted disease or a series of herbs. It is a process. And yes, you can heal with certain things, but I would not recommend y'all going to a naturopath that might not know how to send your blood to a Quest Diagnostics or a blood lab to make sure there's other things that aren't going on. So that's something I really want to say. I'm all for natural healing. But again, there's certain things that I, as a healer that have healed a lot with herbs, would recommend women not experiencing or doing. It's just too much. So be really careful with these herbal healings and these herbal, it can really affect you more horrifically than not sometimes. So you want to make sure you're not doing stuff. Sometimes people don't even know they have a thyroid imbalance, and then they take something and now their face is swollen or something else happens. You got to be really careful. So that's for that, for those diseases.
Lots of questions. Yeah, you got yeah.
If we don't have questions like this, I definitely will come back and do a question.
Right. But they're asking you about beard oils, but I would assume the same thing for your hair works for beard.
Beard oil is great. Let me tell you guys something about ingrown hairs and hair. That is a genetic. Some people are on this what do you call this diet where they only eat the meat? Paleo. Thank you, Celina. Some people are only on these paleo diets to lose weight. We cannot exist on paleo diets. We are a green and a colored people. You can't have color and exist on anything like white or just without life, without color. So some of these paleo diets are straight meat, no vegetables, no nothing, no fruit, no color, just the white diet. These are program diets. That is not how you should be eating. I will not say that, hey, everybody is different. If you just want to eat meat for a while, cool, but you're going to have to do other stuff with that meat to transmute it, and I wouldn't recommend that. I'm not somebody that even recommends people to be on a flesh-eating diet. I will recommend, okay, if you like eating meat, do it like this, try to transition, do it once a week, once a month, but I'm not one to recommend certain diets. Paleo diet will leave your pum-pum smelling. Some women don't realize, like, okay, now you're on this paleo diet and your vagina is going to smell like, so you got to watch out. You got to watch out for that too, because certain things will affect our pH balance. So you can wash with whatever you want, but still have a rank because you're not realizing it's something digestible in your system that is not working. So that's with the paleo diet, and also will promote a lot of hair growth. So some women I've been meeting, how do you think, I don't grow, I'm a hairy person.
Said about facial hair, is that?
Get laser. Let me tell you, the only thing that I have done cosmetically when Amore was about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I did it for maybe and it was expensive. I had to pay like $60, $80 a session, and I had about 6 sessions. I got laser hair removal on my chin. I had about 6 chin hairs. It happens when you breastfeed. If you breastfeed, you might find that I didn't pluck one of them because I didn't want to have ingrown. Don't pluck your hairs, women of color. Don't pluck, don't wax, don't thread, don't pull. None of that. So I'm as smooth as a baby's bottom, thank God. But I did some research. When you are darker skinned, you need a lag YG laser. A YG lag laser, some shit like that. But I went and paid for the sessions because I was embarrassed. It's like, I'm short, first of all. When I was talking, I felt like you could see my chin. You couldn't, they weren't that coarse, but it was an insecurity of mine. So I said, as long as it's not artificial, I'm not sticking anything in. I'm not thinking. For me, I have no implants. I don't believe in any of that. Do some resistance training, some whatever, and be happy with your flat ass if you have a flat ass. Not everybody's here to have a big fat ass, first of all. Second of all, be happy if you have a little poo-poo or whatever you have. Be grateful for what you have. You're not unhealthy. You're not sick. You don't have any problems. Be grateful for what God gave you. But camera 3 is the one thing that I would recommend for women. The only thing I recommend cosmetically is laser hair removal, because laser hair removal, I didn't do it on my underarms or anything else, but it will affect you as a female, because I'm not a man. I don't want to be it. I don't want this. And it was something that I wanted, if I could ever have an opportunity to share. I had about 5 sessions, 6 maybe, because they want to make sure that they stay off. You get them done once every like 3 months, once every 2 months, or however quickly your hair grows back. So the lady literally told me, look, as soon as you see a couple hairs, come back in for your thing. I only had a little section here and like I had a couple hairs, 2 or 3. And she was like, because they're so sparse, I'll just do whatever. Whenever you see a hair, come back. So I did it for about 6 months or a year, longer than that, because every 2 months, if I saw a hair, I would go. So I had about 6 treatments over that course. 6 treatments. There's a great spot in New York if you need it. I'll give it to you. They're open now, even with the corona, because I just gave it to somebody. And I stopped doing them a while ago because I haven't had any hair growth. When I went and she was like, you don't have anything, so there's nothing to visit. It's not painful. They just take a little, it looks like a little heating pen, and they just zap your hairs. Zip, 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 zip. And it was so painless. I was like, why didn't I do this years ago? So I would recommend laser hair removal for women that have coarse chin or thin hair. I didn't ever have any of this, so I didn't have to get this done. But I did get laser hair removal between the year of like 2018 and 2019. I haven't dealt with the insecurity in a while, but that's really the only thing. So when you say, oh, you're secure, Celina, I dealt with the one thing that I was really like feeling like I was talking like this and doing all that. Other than that, no cosmetic anything. It's not needed. You're gonna get older. It's beautiful. You're gonna age. It's great. That's about it. And I'm really keen on my teeth. I don't have any old fillings. I'm really keen on my teeth. Anything I pay for it's my teeth, and I'm not insured. So teeth, and even with my foot, it took me years to get the insurance and figure out how to trust in doing that. And honestly, I just checked my astrological stuff a lot. Really, I had it done the week of my birthday last year. So on my birthday, I literally was coming out of the hospital. And it was just a good time for me. I faced my fears of all of what happened to my mom and said, this is not my journey. But again, I didn't want that bone spur because it was becoming painful in shoes. And I didn't want to have a big, I'm trying to pull it back. I didn't want to have a big bone on the top of my foot. So I got it taken care of. And that was the only thing that I felt, thank God, I needed to just be aware of based on my life when I was young. I was a little hard on my joints. And again, some of us experience stuff that are emotional. Some of us experience stuff that is physical. Some experience both. It's not to judge what's better, what's worse, who's on the greater journey of healing, who's the better energetic worker. Anybody that works energy is not somebody I want to even be around. Just want to be around people that are at ease and are cool with trying to figure out how not to pass on certain stuff to their kids that we might have not have even known. And, same thing to my son. So for me, it was my grandparents and family core and cousins. And I had to really check that and go, that is not his journey. It is not his experience. He doesn't have these things. So you're going to deal with your son as being incomplete or not. Whatever social experiences he's going to have or not, be grateful that they're going to be through you and you're not putting him in a space just to experience.
Let me just ask you something before you go. I'm not sure, for clarification. Someone's comment is that, with all due respect, sunscreen is artificial melanin and has multiple carcinogens. Did you recommend sunscreen, or were you recommending a product for sun damage?
Real quick, sunscreen, over the counter, can be harmful because there's over 6 to 10 chemicals in it that will cause more problems than by you just burning. Sunscreen, when I say sunscreen, it's literally jojoba, almonds, avocado, palm, carrots, different stuff that will help process the sun's energy and not cause an actual interference. So like you gotta put something on your skin. That is the sun screen. It is something screening and shielding the sun from just hitting your dry ass face.
So
But
you call it sunscreen, but it's your natural product, one of your natural products.
there's no chemical in it. I forget the name of the chemical. It's really long too. Floxy, hydroxy, some crazy stuff that's in every, and I can tell you because I bought a Neutrogena sunscreen to look at it and to feel the texture and see why it's really bad for our skin. But it's got stuff that strips and that's really bad for your skin, like sunscreen.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that because I didn't think I thought you were talking about your own product and not commercial.
No.
And there was also a question about because you don't use vegetable glycerin, what was the shelf life of your product?
The shelf life is about probably 8 months to a year, because I've left stuff in the woman's room for like 6 months. And I tested certain stuff just on myself. First of all, herbs aren't going to expire. So if you actually infuse something with herbs properly, the herb and the essential oil is the preservative and the preservative. But because y'all are all dealing with white people products, and you're all dealing with stuff with an ounce of, as soon as it hits mass marketing, I'm sorry, Curly Sue's or Uncle whatever's, I don't know what the products are out there anymore, but the one that I can remember is Carol's stuff. If you use anything that's mass marketed, it has chemicals in it now, because that is the industry's way of putting their foot in whatever it is you're selling. That is why even people that are like, oh, it's natural. I'm like, it's not, because it's an industry-made product. If I ever go global industry like that, I know exactly how to keep the continuity and the integrity of my product, not only by not allowing certain industries to have a foot. Remember, this is how people make money. It's still a business. But if you're not willing to trade in your business for that money, now they can't put their agent in your creams. They can't put their thumbprint on whatever it is that you're making. That's really what it is that you get when you have major sponsorship or marketing. It's someone else's energy in your stuff. So no, I would never allow someone else to make my stuff, because I know they would probably not shuck the aloe. They'd put some of the bullshit in it. And that would create a great shelf life, to smell like watermelons, but that's not what works on our skin. We don't use formicas. You cannot use coloring agents. Even sometimes people are like, oh, I like the glitter. Then go to a company that's going to offer a glitter in your skin, because that's not what Cordoba Organics is going to do. Cordoba Organics is all going to be natural, and it's going to allow your body to heal and to actually come to its own natural. Some of our people don't even know what their skin looks like or what their hair can look like, because they've never even used things that's for it. They've always used something that other ethnicities can benefit from. All white people can benefit from my products, but I can't rely on white people's products for myself. So I created something that all white people could benefit from, but that I knew I couldn't get from any other person, because they have to also create for them, which they should. So for me, I wanted to keep out all of the fragrances. Vegetable glycerin is really bad. You got to also remember glycerins are also very animal and pork based. Some glycerin, like vegetable glycerin, a lot of people will use in skin products, but it's not needed. That's if you're making soaps, or if you're doing something you want that silky feels come through actually using carrier oils and the types of butters. But people are trying to save money on the types of butters they use. So they just use shea butter or one butter like macadamia, and then use a whole bunch of carrier oils that don't feel good. So mine was taking a little, sometimes I smack myself and go, why'd you make a goddamn face oil with 8 different herbs and 8 different, because it feels different. It's better for my skin.
What oil is that?
Huh?
What oil is that? What's the name of the oil you're talking about?
My Fountain of Youth, FOY. It's got so many herbs in it, but it's the base of the oils. It's got argan, jojoba, macadamia, cherry seed oil. I'll bring a couple just so you guys can see the difference in color when they're not added to it. Just two different ones, not to bore people. Two different ones. You can see the difference in color between just this and this, how this is a little golden and this. Imagine 12 of these going into your face oil, but you only using a little dollop on your skin and you defying whatever you were told about your skin being oily and it actually just absorbing so beautifully that you have this glow and you have this. It's because you're using stuff that doesn't have all these other imprints on it. It's also what people are making their stuff with. I actually do mix. My mixers are pyrite, they're turquoise. So I'm really putting this stuff in it. But you also have to believe, just like I don't believe that anyone can do any work on me or like that, because I don't give faith into any of that. That's not larger than my. No one can do that. My ancestors got me. My people, like I'm protected. So regardless of whatever, that shield, whatever I believe in, is going to refract and reflect any type of negativity or whatever workings. That's not going to work on me. It's actually going to be really in opposition to whoever's doing it. So in having faith in what you have faith in, that's really when you start to say, okay, now all of these things that I read about, now you can start to have fun and play, because these are sacred sciences. So, it's literally sometimes I can be around doubters, and that's hard because if, you want to, how are we going to believe in all of this if we're doubting it for ourselves? So for me, actually putting myself on the yoga mat for years, seeing the difference, I feel healthier than I did when I was 23, but it's because I figured stuff out that I wasn't practicing as long. I've had longer time. Now I've had 20 years since I was 23 to put things into practice that I might have only been doing for a couple years in my 20s. So, it's not to be hard on ourselves, but, fungal stuff, anything, remember, all these estheticians, chemists, nothing that they learned did not come out of nature. They might have gotten more hip and how to try to cheat shit and circumvent stuff, because that's what certain humans here like to do. But honestly, nothing can be solved without going to a plant or without going to something organically. Everything that can be healed can come from nature. So for me, when I go to whatever and they're like, you didn't do this, when did you get at this? I there's certain things I won't put into practice, regardless of what I read or hear. So now it's starting to make sense. Like, see, I didn't have to vaccinate this, that, or the third, but you have to have faith that your albumin, that your milk is going to treat your child, and the vaccines you got when you were little are still in existence. And the things that you've gone through in the world, energetically and environmentally, are going to fortify you to be whatever for your children. So all of that is to say, I am so honored. I got to go, y'all.
I think you did. You went 48 minutes.
I want to say thank you for no Twitter. Funny thing is too, I just decided to ignore years ago a fake Twitter Cordoba Organics account, and it might not even have been fake. Maybe a friend of mine a couple of years ago started Cordoba Organics on Twitter, and I don't remember, like 9 years ago. So I never tweeted about a product because I don't have my Cordoba Organics page the way that I wanted. And I got to get over stuff like that. So this season, I'm going to just start sharing more, because I don't want to be left out of the conversation, and having been, celebrate all those companies that are starting their own journey as skincare and hair care. What I'm grateful for is to have, not have been afraid to say stuff like crystal infusion therapy in 2006, and to start, ancient skin alchemy in 2008 when it wasn't popular. And now we have so many alchemists, as we should, because that is what it's there to do, to remind people that they can be alchemists in their own right. All we need is some patience, a little bit of faith, and some love outside of what we've been conditioned to believe we don't have. So thank you, Dr. G.
I love you, Empress. Thank you so much. You have to come. Well, you will be back next week. That's right, along with Brother Asir, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm sorry if it was glitchy. I pray it cleared up a little bit.
Cleared up terrifically. Fine. You look great. We're going out like we came in. Great.
Thank you. And emails and all that are there. I tried to share some stuff to YouTube today after a while. And thank you guys for all the love. If you do place an order tonight, please give me 2 or 3 days to send you your tracking. I will definitely get to it. I'm on it like swimwear. And I love you guys for placing your trust in me and for knowing that there's something out there for us. Even if you don't remember, there's like 30 pizza stores, 50 tortilla restaurants. There's enough for all of us to eat. So thank you guys for including me in your medicine cabinet or for trying one of them and saying you're more deserving than an ounce of something with a little water and a little essential oil. So I wanted to give us some options, and I'm just grateful to have had the opportunity to do so. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for sticking with us. And again,
this week, I want to read the comments. So I'm going to ask you to show me so I can do that this weekend.
Okay. That you'll see. But we appreciate you. We appreciate, everything that you have shared and your candor and your honesty and openness. And then of course, all of the skill that you have and experience you have with you as an alchemist. We appreciate you. And we are going to be leaving all of that off the shelf stuff alone. And we're gonna patronize our own. And we thank you and love you.
Moorish own businesses, absolutely. Thank you guys. We are more than a color. So have a great night, and thank you for the opportunity again.
All right. Love you.
I love you.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
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 Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.